if I asked you right now, would you want to go back to Caversham on like a Wednesday with the whole squad and they're absolutely ripping, like, you know, like that energy in that room, you could almost like bottle it up and sell it, and like you would never have to worry about funding again. Like, it is like such a palpable energy in the room. Like, you would do that in a heartbeat to go back and do that, like those half hours where like you could walk in there and you could literally put your head through a wall and like you wouldn't feel it. Like, there's so much like hype. A lot of the way I just handle pressure is just deal with it, like handle it in the moment, just get on with it. You know, like Jurgen would always say, like the loser would train harder, like the loser trains harder. Like a few of the guys always used to say like pressure is privilege. For me, it was always sort of like the greatest poison on earth is like comfort. If you're comfortable in anything, in any part of your life, it is poisoning you. It is going to poison you. Like, you know, and it could be anything. Like, you're working away and you're really successful and you're going through, you take your eye off the ball and, you know, it breeds complacency and it doesn't develop what you want to be. Any failure, any knockback, it was always just like, that's fine. Like, the pain is, you know, that's discomfort. That's good. If I'm comfortable, I'm not in the right place. Like, I'm doing something wrong. I was in the single day before, feeling really good, really up for it. Little 8K paddle before last day, before going back and getting ready for the heats. Paddle up, do the first 4K, fine. Just go up for the second bit and just doing like a series of like pieces and starts. Starts is what I've been doing, like loads and loads of work on. And like these starts were like, they were like pristine. Like I was really up for it. Take the first stroke, fine. Second stroke, fine. Third stroke had a crack. So that, next thing I know, like the whole rigger on that side had just snapped and just gone off and into the water. And like, I was sort of just like straight, like sort of flown back a bit. And I was sort of like sat there in the middle of the lake with one blade, the other one sort of holding on, but like the rigger was just attached to the end of it.
Yeah.
And Hamish was like, "You okay?" I was like, "I can go get some help." Like, and I'm like drifting across the lanes. The Ukrainian women's quad came and like sort of towed me to the side. And I got out and then Jurgen's there. I was like, "Ooh, good start, Sam."
Hey, what is up? Welcome back to Last Stroke Counts. Today's guest is a European medalist, under 23 medalist, former GB rower, and the king of winning at Saturday pieces at Leander, Sam Mottram. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you on.
Thanks, guys. Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, excited about this one. We were just saying before, I think first male lightweight rower we've had on. Yeah, as I said, probably maintaining one of the hardest positions in rowing, which I think is rowing in a single and maintaining weight.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can say what you think about that, but that, to me, as a heavyweight 8 rower, it seems like the opposite end of where I was. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's probably a lot like, sort of like Brits and Americans, like you speak the same language, you're sort of doing the same thing, you look the same, but it's not the same. It's not the same sport.
No, definitely. Yeah, we'll get into that. I mean, I've said before, if sweeping didn't exist, I would not have ever got a vest for anyone. I was never a sculler. Yeah. Yeah, cool. We've got loads to talk about. We'll get into it. But as we normally start, I'd love to sort of hear how you found rowing in the first place.
How I found rowing in the first place. So I was one of 7 kids. Well, I am one of 7 kids. And growing up, we were all just like insanely sporty. I like the logistical challenges of moving 7 kids to like various sports clubs.
Is it like a minibus?
Yeah, literally.
Did you?
We had a little Mercedes minibus thing at one point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty mad. But yeah, I just remember my whole childhood. It wasn't like, I can't even remember a time when it used to be Friday nights was like the only time you'd ever go home from school.
Yeah.
I'd actually get the train home from school. Like up to that point, I never ever, like every single night you were going out, you were doing like athletics or rugby or judo or something. And when my eldest sister, she got a little bit into a sort of teenage phase and sort of didn't want to do as many sports. So I think the bargain was struck with my parents where she could just give up the lot and just do one.
Mm-hmm.
and I think she was trying to think she was being a bit smart, and because we didn't live anywhere really near any water, and she thought, oh yeah, I'll do rowing. And she fell in love with it, became quite good at it, and then just I couldn't tell you the point where like all the other, where rowing sort of started and all the other sort of sports stopped, but it was definitely like over a period of time, just sort of cutting away at one, getting rid of one, and just slowly doing these other sports less and less. Like I couldn't tell you the last day I did or the last time I ever did judo, or the last time I ever went swimming. Like,
do you think it was more conscious, or rowing obviously is very demanding with like the amount of sessions that you have to do? So
I think it was just sort of a love for it more than anything. It was just different, and I was good at it and got some satisfaction out of it. So yeah,
what club did you start at?
So initially I started doing little summer courses. I think the first ever one was in Maidenhead, I think.
Yeah.
Where
Justy, maybe?
I think it was Brett King, if you remember Brett King.
I do know them. He's at Marlow, yeah.
From Marlow for a while. And I think can't remember. So I did one there, and I met this other rower at the time, Jamie Copus.
Who's that?
Yeah, that's that. You managed to plague me for the rest of my career.
Couldn't get away from him.
Couldn't get away. No, so I started...
I love you, Jamie, by the way, if you listen.
yeah.
No, I do. I really need to reply to his messages. So we started there, and then all my other siblings were rowing at Marlow at the time, and they weren't very keen, because I mean I was probably 9, 10, so pretty young, and they just wouldn't let someone my age row. So I went down the road to Henley Rowing Club, wasn't interested, and my dad sort of literally just drove into Upper Thames Rowing Club and sort of asked the questions, and again he was getting the same sort of like and then the actual founder of the club, Peter Sutherland, like God rest the old boy's soul, he's a nice lad, he was in there and he was like, just let him row, like, because he was the founder and built the thing. Away he went, and just started going there at weekends, and then weekends became semi-weekdays, and wasn't really much going on in the way of junior rowing there as such. But there was like a few coaches, and just slowly over time, a sort of junior squad sort of evolved around it, and sort of went from there, really.
Were you local to Henley, or did you have to commute?
No, I lived in Stoke Mandeville, which from Henley's about 35 miles or so, 32.
So how did you get to training?
Oh, that's the logistical. That's the minibus for you.
Yeah.
So I used to go to school in the morning because I lived right near the station. So get up, walk, get on the train to school, go to school, and then one of my parents would pick me up and then drive from the school, which was like not quite so far away, and drove over to Upper Thames, train there, and then get up, pick up the guys from Marlow, and then off home.
Nice. Did you ever feel like there were any sports that you sort of had to say goodbye to in order to keep rowing, or was it just rowing that kind of rose to the top?
I think it was very much that. It was like, as I sort of said, I can't remember like the last day I ever like put on a judo suit, or the last time I ever like went to the swimming pool. Like I remember doing them all the time, but I can't remember like the last time like that sort of fell out of my life, and rowing sort of took a little, like a bigger bite of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, I really was almost upset to give up rugby, but at the same time, I'd grown up but not out, so rugby was just continuously becoming not something that I was going to be competitive at. And then rowing, same thing, just kind of filled that little hole. What sort of age would you say it became more than just having a fun and plodding around on the river? It's always a sort of part, but where would you where are you sort of training more than just twice a week, at the weekends?
I mean, I think ever since I was probably about 12, I was training almost every day of the week.
Rowing specific?
Yeah. So Monday through Thursday, Friday off, and then Saturday, Sunday at the weekend. So I think that's right around the time I first met Satch, because you must have been at...
Me and Satch the same, yeah.
Yeah, Leander, and he was coaching at Upper Thames.
Oh, yeah.
Around that time.
What year is that now?
Don't ask me.
Don't
ask me years.
What are we talking?
Well, he had that little finny that you managed to...
Oh, so that's well back. We're talking about 08, 09.
Oh, yeah.
I think he got rid of the Mini in 09.
Yeah, and then you got that BMW.
Because side note, because we used to go to Dorney to do pieces on Thursdays.
Yeah.
You used to go in the Mini a lot, and you drive in the Mini. By the time you get to Dorney, feeling like lightheaded. You're like, Chase, I've got a bit of a headache. I feel like, Satch, is this something wrong with your car? Takes to the garage. Turns out there's like a hole in the exhaust pipe. We've just been like sucking up carbon monoxide for half an hour, like getting out of the car all lightheaded. That's like one of the reasons why I got rid of it. So, oh right, okay, so yeah, it's about 09. So what? So you were about 12 then?
Yeah, 94. So this is gonna be so embarrassing.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, then
What you were 15 and
Yeah.
No, 15. Oh, so maybe even before.
yeah, that'd been before that.
Yeah, because Satch probably had the Minis like 06, 07
Yeah.
still. I went to Leander like 07, 08 and he still had it and they got rid of it next year.
Yeah, no, I definitely remember when he was like folding himself into that thing.
And he had the blonde hair, didn't he?
Yeah.
Remember the blonde hair?
What's wrong with that guy?
So this time I also started 07, 08
Mm.
was the year Mikey came to Leander as well.
Yes,
For his first trial.
first time around.
Yeah, although I love that he got told he wasn't going to make it and then he came back. I remember thinking like, that's badass.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Well, was he wearing Upper Thames or was he still a...
no, Mikey. Where did he go? He rode at Marlow.
This is your older brother,
This is
Bernie.
my-
That doesn't know, yeah.
Yeah.
How many? What's the difference age-wise?
Mikey is four and a bit years older than me.
Yeah.
So around Tom's age.
Yeah, we must be about the
Yeah.
same age if we started,
Yeah.
finished school and started.
Do you have a kid? He has a kid.
I don't yet.
Well, must be older then.
Maybe. I think
Um,
yeah. Anyway. It's not a topic for this.
Yeah,
podcast.
let's not give your wife any ideas. Yeah, so Mikey rode at Marlow,
Yeah.
and then after that he went to Leander, and like, that's his story. But I think he really didn't like it very much. He didn't like. I think, like a lot of these systems and a lot of the people you hear that are in it, sometimes make it through the system, sometimes don't. Like, it never really suited him to be a Leander. And then when so he went away and he went to Reading. Uni at that
Yeah.
time, which I think still does have quite a decent little
Yeah.
stunning program.
Mm.
Is it Chris?
Chris Bartley.
Is he still coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Class of last summer. Don't know if anything's changed since.
It was there, yeah.
He is.
It's still there.
Sharp.
but yeah, like he went there and like he just found himself, and sort of like so many people, everyone's on their own little journey, aren't they? And
Did you like want to row because your big brother rode, or were you like not really that bothered?
no, I mean, as a family, we were always really competitive, but I think it's going to sound a bit depressing, really. But like my whole rowing sort of journey, it was always like, right, next step, right, next step, right, next step. And I never really sort of stopped at any point, even up to like right at the end. I never really stopped to look and go like, why did I do this, or like what led to this? It's just sort of it was the journey,
We're all guilty of that, yeah.
and I just sort of went down my own path, and just so happened to sort of somewhat follow behind him.
Yeah.
Obviously he finished, he did his bit in the squad, and then finished and went off. Became a quite a well established, successful cyclist.
I don't know.
That's
It's like we're rowers, we don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you're sort of feeling like you're taking it serious, sort of 12 to 15. You're doing every day, but still, it's just something for fun. It's being active. You're not thinking like, I'd love to row as a junior level for GB. Do you thought?
I never. Do you know what? Even throughout the trials of when I got older, in the sort of, I think, was it, when did you do it? Is it
Spring
16?
assessment.
When you're 16, you do is it GB France?
Yep.
Whatever they call it
Yeah.
now. So even through that, or even when I was a 1 year junior, so I was at Upper Thames until I was about 16, and then like at the time there was actually still quite a nice little group of, like, quite a decent little thing, but no one else was trialing for GB at all. I think, in fact, JJ was rowing there at that time as well. So it's weird how you get all these sort of like little snippets of, like, throughout your career. So many people have been like the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
It's always really interesting. But now after I was done there, I moved on to Walton under Nick DeCarter. If you remember Nick.
I know the name, yeah.
And that, just because there were so many more people like actually trialing and could go through it. So I did the junior trials, didn't go anywhere really. Did the final rounds, and you remember those. You did junior trials, didn't you?
I did a spring assessments in the final rounds.
Yeah,
I never made a team.
Same, but you remember when you used to have to go to Nottingham and do that like relentless seat race?
Spring assessments.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about this. I think when I was on Jack's podcast, I think we did something like 15 seat races a day for 4 days.
About 1,500 full distance, yeah.
Yeah, 1,500, and you just rotate. I feel like it was just the war of attrition. It's we've got too many kids who will survive this.
Yeah. Whoever's last one standing, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a method.
Yeah.
But no, I never really. I did the under 23. I did the junior trials. That was what it was, and then I sort of after that time, I was a 1 year junior. So
that's not it's under 19 now, isn't it?
I don't know what it is. So at the time, obviously, the school years in the UK go from August, September around, and that's how we program our year groups in the in rowing. But obviously, there was a disconnect with like the rest of the world who were doing it by calendar year. Because I was born in November, so I was in that kind of weird window where
you had to be under 18 on the first day of the year, the competition. I see it. So if you're a September, October, November, December, you're not allowed to row as a junior in the final year. But I think they changed it now because now it's under 19.
Yeah, it took me months to wrap my head around that when I came from Poland, because it was just like, well, I was born in 1998, so I row against all the kids from that year. So, and I was like, well, what do you mean month different? This, and then crazy.
Yeah, so that was what it was, and then I went back to Upper Thames for a little while I was just sort of around, and I just bumming around with the seniors, really. Not bumming around, like, just training with.
What was if the motivation wasn't to row at GB? What was it about rowing that kept you coming back to it? What was the motivation to keep going and training that hard? There's quite a lot of training to put in if you're not sort of at that point have that like focus.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, and especially that's a really good question. I would love to give you like, this was exactly the reason, but there wasn't. I honestly can't say. It's fine to say you don't know because I don't know. Like, it was just a discipline by that stage of my life. It was such a habit. Like, you woke up, you eat, you go to the toilet, you go to school, you do whatever you need to do, and then you come home and you row. Like, I've never really known anything different. It's probably why now I feel like I cannot sit at home for a day. Like, I cannot sit at home. It's like I have to go out and do something. Can't stay in one place.
But was there? Okay, so what do you enjoy about rowing?
Not very much. I think we'll get.
I also struggle with this question as well.
I think it's probably a question for a bit later when like you look back at the whole thing and you say, what do I enjoy? And like,
from my point of it, it's like people would ask me and I'd sort of think, well, I don't necessarily enjoy getting up early. I don't like the cold. I don't like the rain. I don't really like the training. I don't like erg tests. I don't, even for me, particularly enjoy racing. The nerves for me I really struggled with. Don't necessarily enjoy. I love the pressure. I think it's the achievement. I think it's doing all those things and struggling that hard, struggling so much with race day nerves, and then you get there and you put your performance down, and then I think that must the reward of like, we did it.
Yeah, it kept like, but is another way of putting it. If I asked you right now, would you want to go back to Caversham on like a Wednesday with the whole squad and they're absolutely ripping, like, like that energy in that room, you could almost like bottle it up and sell it, and like you would never have to worry about funding again. Like, it is like such a palpable energy in the room. Like, you would do that in a heartbeat to go back and do that, like those half hours where like you could walk in there and you could literally put your head through a wall and like you wouldn't feel it. Like, there's so much like hype in that.
I had this, exactly. That's such a good example. I did exactly. I was fixing rowing machines at Leander's, or 2 years after I retired. Barney and George were in there, and they were like, "Oh, you head down tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "We've got a half hour. Come down a half hour." I was like, "Fucking, I haven't done one for ages." And I hadn't really trained. I didn't really know what I was doing, but just that environment. Yeah, I ended up pulling like a better split than half the Thames Cup squad, which obviously, well trained and all the rest of it. But yeah,
Big.
I absolutely amazed myself. I can't believe I've pulled that. But just the environment, the buzz, I can't let the boys down. I've got to put a performance in. Like, yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah,
There you go.
no, it's good. It's good. Okay, so when was the thought of sort of maybe trying to take it a bit more, see where you could get to?
So that was at the time when I was rowing back at Upper Thames again, and then the Leander Juniors was like in its infancy. So I think it's probably a year or two before you started there, I'd say.
I won 2014.
Yeah, you went 24.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Seb was there, Harry was there, but he was a year younger than me. I think was it Ollie Lees?
Ollie Collinson.
Collingston, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a few people there, but it wasn't much. And I was sort of floating around and like sort of training a bit, training quite a lot, but not really doing much. And then like I think the word sort of got to Lavinia that I was interested and I wanted to go, And that was in the winter of my second junior year, as it were. And Lavinia like gave me a shot. I went down there and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Like, not a clue. She said like, get on the ergo. Okay, today's like half hour rate 20. And I just did half an hour at rate 20, like paddling.
So you hadn't necessarily like structured any training before?
I hadn't. Well, like at that point, obviously you had like the program and a bit around like the squads and stuff, and you sort of as your junior, you knew what you were doing throughout the week and that lot. But like I had no idea like what a good 2K was. Like I knew what a junior 2K was, but I had no idea what a decent 2K was. I I literally never heard of a half hour rate 20. And like it'll be if there's a 5K would be my go-to if I want to do anything. But
you're wrong.
That probably a bit of a controversial.
You're wrong in the head. 5K. That's the only one I'll never do it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
No, you can put a PB in our regular gym. Yeah, the 5K if you want.
I'll do that in a minute.
You just knock one out.
Oh, I've got a funny story about we'll come back to it later.
Nah, go on.
So, like, we had these 5Ks coming up, and at the time we did like a 2K and a 5K, like within a week, like 5 days apart.
On a week of hell.
Ah, it's shite.
Yeah.
And this is at Caversham. Anyway, there we are. So did the first 2K and it was pretty good. Like just off my PB, felt pretty good. And then the 5K was coming up, and I knew I was on for like a good one, but I woke up feeling like I had a really crap night the night before. Like still had to weigh in, so I had like the hottest shower. Like we can talk about some weighing in stuff, but probably not all of it. Don't want to give anyone any ideas. And yeah, we basically had the 5K coming up on the Saturday. So get my car, little Mazda. It's fucking rainy like anything. Going along, driving along, and still going from Stoke Mandeville. Well, that day in particular, I was hours at Stoke Mandeville, and I was driving to Caversham to do the 5K, and I was driving way too fast. The road was way too slippy, and the party line is that I just bumped into a curb. The actual reality was like I fully dropped it on a roundabout, like listening to music. Got halfway through the roundabout. I would say the song, but it'd be too embarrassing. Put my foot into it and just spun the car round. Went over a central reservation. Landed facing like in the lane, like looking back at the roundabout, going the wrong way, and I was just like, shit. Anyway, so like the car sort of drove-ish. So like I could like it would drive, but like the steering wheel was like fully over. I basically limped it to Henley and like just knocked on my girlfriend's door at the time. And I was just like, I need you to drive me to Caversham, like now, immediately. I get there and I go see Jürgen. He's just like, oh, Sam, you okay? I heard you crashed. Yeah. I was like, yeah. It's like, a bit late. Best get on the ergo. So he gets on there, and it was at the time where like you were forced to do like a set distance for your warm up. And I don't know about you, but before doing like a 2K, I don't want to do like 500 meters. Like,
Yeah. Nothing,
like,
yeah.
so we had to do like the first pre-paddle was like a set 12K. So did that, felt like crap. Like I was hurting. I was in a right state. Weighed in, that was fine. Then obviously hydrated, eated, did all that stuff. And then bang, plonked on the go Collins to my side, like, and just away we went. I just felt like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I was actually present in the moment. And I didn't think I realised until sort of like 2K to go. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to go under like 16 here. Like,
Very quick.
I was like, shit, like I'm on for a good one.
Wow.
And I look over and I'm on the same distance as Collins. Like, I could see him looking back at me and he was just like, oh, hell dear. I was just ragging. I don't know what came over me that day. But, yeah, and I think I ended up with like a 15:56 or something, 15:57. And, got off the ergo.
It's got to be like number one.
No, I think
Lightweight.
Rich did one better than that I know of. But, it was good.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I went home and didn't wake up until the next morning.
That's weird. I was thinking about, there's been a couple of my best legs, but almost ones when I felt shit or knackered, or I think what a little bit of it is because from the start, there's no like worrying about when it's going to start getting tough. You're like, I feel like shit. Like it's tough so then you're just in it, as opposed to like some of you're just like, where's it going to happen? Where's it going to come? Where's it going to...
Yeah, you just hype yourself up into it.
Probably not being present actually helped.
Yeah.
For the first, because you was just focusing on something else, obviously like trying to forget the fucking leg, the roundabout incident, the silly warm up, the rain and everything. I just looked it up, 135. That's average for 5K for a lightweight. That's unbelievable.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Can ask Collins.
Did you beat him?
No, he told me afterwards. He was like, if there was one thing that was not, I was not being beaten by a lightweight.
Yeah, I wouldn't go down well.
Yeah, 5K prep, speed on the roundabout.
Yeah. Crash your car first. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't crash your car.
Awesome. So you want to go to Leander. Presumably that was to kind of see what you could do with mountain.
Yeah.
Or are you still sort of thinking like, hey, this is the next step?
It was sort of a bit of both at that point. That's when it started to sort of like, oh, this is getting a bit more serious, and Leander was obviously a big thing. Yeah. I still didn't really understand like what Leander was or why it was so special. I obviously knew like you had to trial to get in and all these sort of things. But I didn't really, obviously the boathouse, you go in there and there's like this, what's like that scene from Pulp Fiction where he opens up like the briefcase and it's just gold. Like, it's like, oh, that boat shed's like, you open it up and it's just like impact. I've never even rode an impactor. So yeah, and I went down there and for a bit of hook and crook and a bit of work. I managed to get in with the Forley quad. I said Forley, isn't it? Yeah. At the time, it was great. And those days were like, they were really, I think they made like a lot of impact, especially, definitely in my rowing career. I know Harry and Seb were in there at the same time, who obviously went on to do quite a lot. But we were motivated. We were like young juniors, and like I at the time was doing an apprenticeship. So I would be waking up at about 5-ish. I'll drive to Leander. We'd be on the water at like 6, and then like you guys would be coming in for your first session. We had already done ours. Yeah. Got off the water, and then they were going off to college, and I was going off to work, and then we'd come back in the evening afterwards about sort of 5 and do another one. Like those were long days as a junior, but certainly didn't prep me for what was to come.
Didn't?
No,
still got harder.
Like never gets easier.
So what sort of year are we talking now? 14?
I refer to a bait expert over here.
Okay, so I think the year before me, the top quad was Harry Lee, Scully Collinson, Brendan, and James Lampton. Yeah. So you would have been the year before or the year before that. I think
year, Olympics?
Either 2012 or 2013.
Whichever year Seb snapped his blade.
2013.
That's a bad blade.
It would have been 2013, I think.
You were in that boat?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got to talk about that then.
It is what it is.
How was full year, getting ready, falling?
Oh yeah.
Favourites? How had the race season gone?
It was a funny season because it was like between us and Marlow.
Yeah,
Marlow, and like it was sort of. I think even Shelter was in that Marlow quad.
He was,
Yeah.
With Glenn.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Harry Glenister.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, how did he end up in that?
Yeah, and they all ended up sweepers for some reason.
Yeah,
That's
it's the right way to
like,
go.
Like Seb halfway through the race, apparently. But no, like throughout the whole season, we kept on like avoiding each other. Like, not, I don't think inherently intentionally, but like they would, we sort of knew they were the top two quads, and like they would be at one regatta, we wouldn't be at that. We missed them. Like, we never actually ended up racing, and like the whole scene was set for like an actual Sunday showdown at Henley, where like we hadn't actually met at any point that year. Like it was going to be, but we knew it was going to be absolutely tight, like tight as anything. And yeah, we do like what's it? Probably you don't do Friday. No, you do 2 Fridays. Do you at regatta? I can't remember. It was in that fun time, but didn't race the first day. Second race we did won. Third race was, I couldn't honestly say who it was against, but it was like it was a someone we were going to win against. Went off the line, and there was just a tiny bit of wash, like you would have clipped it a million times and never done it. And then Seb's blade just clipped, went under, and then through some weird act of physics, like the blade just went. Next thing I remember, the blade was just straight up in the air. The other bit's broken, and that was like sort of stuck her hands up, and the guy was like, "Well, the umpire." I was like, "What can you do? You can't do anything." Like, that's it. So paddle back, and hit the bar.
How was that?
Yeah.
Put it behind you. Don't worry about it. How do you deal with things like difficulties like that?
I mean, it was hard. It sucked at the time, but again, a lot of I think Seb took it hard. I know Harry took it quite hard, but obviously he had another year as well to give it a crack. But again, it was just sort of on to the next thing, really. Like at the time, it was everything, but looking back at it now, it was like it's nothing really. It's just another step in the road along that journey. Do you know what I mean?
It's good. I think it's a feeling of like, shit, all this training that we've done all year kind of went a bit to waste because we never actually got to prove ourselves. And that was the year that I think you guys were pipped to also like beat Marlow, I believe.
Well, I would hope so. But they would probably say something differently.
Of course they would.
Well, like at the end of the day, like it is what it is. Like there's nothing you could do to change it. You can't re-row it. You can't go back in time. Like what are you going to do with it? You're going to sit there and you can cry about it, and you can be upset about it. You can be frustrated about it, be annoyed about it. Like, but it's not wasted, is it? It still takes you on to your next step and your next part of your life, wherever that might be.
But that's a super mature thing to have. It takes most people a lot longer to realize those things. At 18, to have that attitude. And I think like listening to you from your career from this point, I think it's something you've done, which again probably took a lot of athletes a long time, was to process and not outcome driven, right? You seem to be like enjoying what you were doing for the sake of doing it and not pinning your hopes on any one thing. I think, like you said, the guys that struggled most with it were probably the ones who were like, I have to win the Forley this year. Yeah. And then you've made it difficult. Whereas for you, we're like, I do it, I love it, we'll see what happens. It didn't go well. Let's have a go. Let's have another go. Like that's quite like we've spoken to a lot of athletes who've done a lot of things in rowing, and like I would say that's a pretty good you've come to like a really good attitude a lot sooner than most.
Yeah. Well, you flatter me too much, I think. But like it's just part of like.
No, you're right. Yeah,
I'm very. Yeah, I have always been very process driven. Like I don't particularly like racing. Like it was great. It was amazing at the time. I don't even think I particularly liked winning. Like I certainly didn't like losing, and I definitely didn't do that. But the winning certainly wasn't like the sole reason for being. It was just such a ride and such like a lifestyle and such a time to be present and be, constantly just trying to push on that little bit or be that little bit better or be that, or step on and be that something else. So, yeah. And then on to the next step, which was the following year, which was obviously my first lightweight and sort of first little step into the big
The big leagues.
Yeah, well, cool.
The big small leagues.
Yeah.
So yeah, only your first trophies was 2014.
For Razor, yeah, must have been
2014, yeah. And 23's lightweight singles.
So 2013 in the winter, yeah.
Yeah, it was the poetry season.
Yeah, that
so
was
14. So did you do the winter camp Temple Salot?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was one of the best I've ever been on in my life.
I don't know. Everyone was sort of saying like, "Oh, it'll be great. It'll be this. It'll be that. It'll be the other." It
nearly ended me.
Awful.
I just got sent home from the team.
Yeah,
and then they were like, "Come to Temple Salot." I was like, "Why aren't we going to Banyoles?" Honestly, I went in the 10 years I was at Leander. They go on 2 camps a year normally to Banyoles. There's twice they didn't go to Banyoles. Once they went to Ratsburg in Germany, and once they went to Temple Salot in France, and both of them were awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it rained from like start to finish.
Yeah, and now that like when you wanted to go eat, it was like a mile away.
There was one cafe, which was also the shop, which was also the bar. So if you ever went in there, all the coaches were in there.
Yeah.
So it's like the only place to go. And then the only activity there was the swimming pool, but we got banned on day 1 because people were throwing chairs in the pool.
Yeah.
There was like some massive like volleyball fight that ended up turning into a fight where like, I don't know, I'm not going to drop anyone in it, but certain people started throwing chairs in the pool. So we got banned from the pool. So it's absolutely
Look at it now. Like, why would you do that? Like, what?
Such idiots. I don't know. Talking about camp, I have to tell my story, which I told you earlier about first time I met your dad.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you'll like that.
So this is the same sort of time. I guess we're talking about like 2011, something like that. Maybe a bit earlier, whatever. Anyway, so through a few of us at under 23s, we got invited on the Sierra Nevada camp.
Yeah.
Which is like a big deal on the senior camp. It was before they'd ever done the under 23.
But you're thinking that when you left.
I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Right, okay, how are we going to get there? So it's me, Sachi, and Andy Holmes. Not Steve Redgrave's Andy Holmes. There was another Andy Holmes that I rode with under 23s. And Sachi was like, I've got a lift off Mikey's dad, because we rode with Mikey's dad. Okay, cool. But meet at my house. And he's going to turn up. So we meet at Sachi's house, and he like doesn't turn up, and he doesn't turn up, and he doesn't turn up. I'm like, oh God, this is getting, there's only like 2 hours before our bloody flight leave now. We've got to get to Heathrow. And then he turns up. Okay, let's go. So we jump in the car, and your dad's like just chatting away and just like driving all over the place, like doing whatever. It was in a bit of a flap and a rush or whatever. We're halfway down the M5, and he's like, right, I just need to stop and pick up a laptop. I was like, we're way too late for stops. Like, what's going on here? So he stops, pulls over, goes into some building, picks up this laptop. I think he might have even been giving it to Satch to use for the camp or something. I can't remember why he needs this laptop. And we come back on the M5, and I'm like not the M5, M4. And we're coming up, and then I just see like there's like a wall of traffic in front of us, like back to back traffic. I was like, we're so fucked, we're done. Like, this is over. And your dad just goes like, oh, let's try this way. Just pulls up on this junction, just somehow happens to know, thankfully, where he was going, just drives through all these random back roads, and then we turn up literally there. Shep's outside waiting for us, like livid. 3 of us jump out of the car, grab Shep, and we run from the car park to the plane. We're like, and we literally like ran in through the check-in, like got on the bus, and the bus left. And the only reason we didn't get a total bollocking for it was because Charles Cousins had forgot his passport. So he deflected all the heat off us. It's not your dad's fault. Probably Satch was like, yo, come an hour before. Whatever. I don't know whose fault it was.
I think you can blame him. Yep.
But geez, man, I was like, oh my God, that's it. My career's over. I'm gonna get.
So you're going to say you're going like 120 down the
He might have. He probably was also blitzing it. No, he didn't go hard shoulder. He just managed to find some other way. Oh, God. The fact that he just was like, oh, let's take this exit, saved us. So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of passports, you ever hear the one of Jacob Dawson?
Did he take someone else's?
No, it was the best one. So we had just done Belgrade. We had done a World Cup. I remember that World Cup. It was soaking wet, and the men's 8 had just were like last race on. They used to be, and so they used to go straight from the venue to the airport. Yeah. And everything was just wet, as wet as could be. Anyway, gets there, gets on the plane, fine. Next time he pulls out his passport, it's to go to Plovdiv, Bulgaria. And he pulls it out, and like the passport is completely fine, apart from this one water stain. Like just over his passport photo. So there's no way of identifying who it was. And he opened it up at the airport desk and they were just like, what the fuck's this?
Did he get on?
No, he didn't. Like, he got sent. And this is like the power of like the regime, as it were, the power of GB rowing at that time. Like, they could just get stuff done, like Tanner, like, and Maggie in particular.
I was going to say, did Tanner just walk up and go, "These are not the droid you're looking for"?
Like, it's like within, I swear, we got, so that, you ever do that flight to Plovdiv where you have to go, you basically go from Heathrow to Frankfurt and then you get on effectively like a pencil with wings.
Yeah.
It was so tiny and you'd have to fly from there over to Plovdiv. But we got there, got to the hotel, rigged up the boats, and by the time we come back, like, Jacob was just walking over, like, just strolling through like the meadows over the hills, just like, hello.
Wild.
And he'd been like sent, I think he'd been sent to the passport office, new passport issued, bang, straight, new flight, or direct. Like, wow. They're like, when that system fires up, there was so little they couldn't get done.
I wonder who Morris had to call to make that happen.
Yeah.
Probably not Morris.
But yeah, I'm sure there's multiple more stories to tell from flights. Rowers aren't very good at getting themselves organised in any way whatsoever. My dad always used to get wound up that like my teachers would be like, "Oh yeah, rowers, you don't have to worry about rowers. They're all so organised." It's like, they're not organised. They just have a small person to tell them what to do. So that was always in the 8. So like, there's always like, that's who you just ask, when have we got to be this, Henry? Where have we got to be there? All right, back to 2014, Temple Salot, worst camp on planet Earth. How were you finding your first year of having to make weight? Did you struggle for weight at all, or?
No, it was absolutely, like, luckily I was always just a little smaller. Like, I am a lot shorter than, like, almost, I'm barely average height, probably a little bit below it after my back injury. Like,
we've all lost a bit of disc height degeneration.
So I never really struggled. That first year at Leander was like a very stark like difference. Like,
savage, isn't it?
When you're out from like, especially coming out from like Lavinia's sort of like almost mother-like care. And,
very protective.
Yeah, you could do whatever you wanted. You could do no wrong. And then I remember like sort of trained through the summer, a little bit on and off. And then like the first week came round. And this is before they started doing that like crazy
week.
Yeah, it was just normal trials, but it was that time when you remember when they used to cut, like, people used to get cut and cut a lot, and I was just like, I don't know what about it or what happened, but I could take you through like the first set of pieces on that Saturday, blow by blow, and it was only like 3 2Ks or something. It wasn't anything much, but I just remember like I went down on my first piece and then Banksy stopped, turned around and started following me, and then I went round and came back and he was still following me, and I went round for like the last one and he was still following me, and I was like, I'm fucking done. Like, that's it.
You're crapping yourself probably.
Oh, it's awful. Like, I was like, I didn't think I was doing anything too bad. I was doing the rates, like, I was like, in that, pretty bang on like the rates, and I thought I was doing all right. So obviously before the days of like GPS, you remember when you used to have like the little impeller, which would last about 5 minutes before eating itself off, and then you're just back to rate. Did that, and then went for the the breakfast, and Beachy came in and just said, "Oh, Sam, Banksy wants to see you." And the whole room just went silent.
That normally means at that point of the year.
Yeah, and everyone was just like slamming on the table, like, chop. And I walked in and I was shitting my pants. Like, I hadn't seen the Times or anything. Like, and the Times hadn't come out. And you remember how they used to have, like, that used to go out and then down that little corridor with all the newspaper before they put it. And then you used to have
members bar.
That members bar around the side. You used to sit in there and the Times, and he was like, well, congratulations. And I was like, fucking hell, like, and like somehow I topped the timing sheet, and I don't know what it about that, but I swear that just put like the fear of God into me, because like the next week I did it again, and then again. I was just like, and just would not like accept like anything, but like probably like certainly not the way to do it at all. It's definitely not a good idea. that I would end myself on those weekend pieces.
I mean,
like,
there's a time to perform. It's probably then.
I think the World Finals might be a bit more important than
Obviously, but my issue was that I was trying to perform on a Monday 12K again, trying to beat everyone on that, and then trying to beat everyone, and then trying to lift the most on a Tuesday, and then trying to PB on Wednesday, and by the time I hit Saturday, I've got nothing left.
Yeah. No, but that just put the fear of God into me, and like I just would not accept anything but like a clear percentage win on that. Later on in my career, that was like probably the least helpful thing that I ever could have done. Because when you do the Leander pieces, you get a Leander time. When you go to Caversham, you get the proper time, the proper percentage. And I remember the first set of pieces I did at Caversham, I sort of like looked at it like, oh, fucking smash that. That's fucking good. I'm going to be halfway up this. And looked at it and I was like 2% off the bottom. And I was like, shit.
New game.
Yeah,
totally. New level.
Right, but what happened once everyone was like screaming chop, and then you came back to the crew room, and then you were like, no, I'm still like, almost like the scene from Wolf of Wall Street, like, I'm not fucking leaving.
Oh, it's good. So you think it in some way, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you sort of think, because you worked that hard, it helped you get where you wanted to get. But later on, you sort of were like, there's a time and a place to max effort.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that sort of set me into like, because again, I didn't particularly enjoy race. Like, I wanted to race. I wanted to be in the boat. I wanted to, be there, win medals, do all that stuff. But like the training was everything. I would do twice the amount of training in the same time to avoid having to race. Like, it was awful. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the fear of it. I didn't enjoy the nerves. I didn't enjoy making weight later on. Like, it was a rough ride. Yeah,
but you kept going.
But you kept going. Was
it the same thing? Almost, it's like I've bloody done it. That was horrible, and I hate it, and now I've done it, and I get to just go back train now.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was like. So yeah, and then obviously throughout that year, it was a bit weird because there wasn't many lightweights, only a few, and sort of no one under 23.
At Leander
at that time.
Yeah.
It was, and we weren't even really training like squads as such. Like, especially for that first winter, it was sort of like you've got this coach has got like 2 women, 2 men, and a suite or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It was all a bit mixed up. I don't know what they were quite going for. And yeah, we just got on with it and then did trials, and I couldn't tell you where I came, and I just kept on doing them and did final trials. And, I don't even think I ever got selected. Like, I can't remember like a time. I just remember we were at Dorney and Shep came over and says, oh, congratulations, you're doing you're going to do the single. And I was like, sweet. Like, I was hoping I could go to the under 23s, but at no point I'd done being like, oh yeah, that's what's happening. And I think even that year we only sent like a lightweight 4 and maybe a lightweight pair, and me in the single. There wasn't like a lot going on as such in the lightweight field.
I mean, it's brutal because there's no place at this point. We're past London, so there's still a lightweight 4 at the top.
There's a lightweight 4.
But you're trying to get into a squad of 6.
Yeah. And of those 6, I can't sweep. You can ask JJ.
Oh, okay.
I cannot sweep.
So you knew.
I wouldn't trust me to clean up your workshop.
So you knew if you were going to get that far, you was 1 or 2 places. Are you at this point think, Shep comes to say we've got an under 23 vest. Are you like, yes, this is awesome. This is going in the right direction. I want to be up there one day. Presumably you're at Caversham doing some trialing and testing, and then under 23 camp.
Sort of the following year, 2015, is where everything changed. Like in that 2014, did very easy, did okay, like blew up massively. Like there's like the biggest theme of my whole rowing career was like just peaking too early all the time. Like for every big race, like the week before I would feel great, and then I'd just taper up. Like as I got into the racing, I got better and better at it. But like I always felt like my best, and some of the best stuff I ever did was like just before like the big event. Like even to the point where it was like in the early rounds.
Did that come down to your preparation or like the program, the coaching?
I mean, well, everyone else seemed to be, performing, so it must have been me. I guess. Like it's not.
I think so. Sometimes I've certainly had a few competitions and seen other people, and it's something they used to warn us a lot about. Was like when you wind down, you've got to be like super careful about getting ill, because like when you're training really, really high level of intensity and stress, your body essentially kind of like is preparing for it, and you take the mileage down. A lot of people kind of get ill. You pick up colds and things like that. So like maybe it was that sense of like it just wasn't working for you in terms of training down. But
I don't know. It could be a million reasons, and it changes throughout your whole career. Like at one point, I would be like every supplement, like every the race prep, your bicarb and your caffeine, those caffeine gels and tablets used to
do them big time.
All of like I used to do all of that, I need to do more, need to do more. And then as I went on and on, I was like, I don't need this. Like, I feel, it just makes me feel like death. Like, and, I'd get to the point towards the end of my career, I didn't touch a supplement, didn't touch anything. I just, was having a hard enough time on weight as it was. Like, I didn't need to be smashing in like gels and special caffeine stuff, like just a double espresso and a bowl of porridge out to race. But
yeah, I mean, it's so many people focus on the small things, and it's like it might give you the tiniest amount, but like get the big things.
The big things, right? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So 2015. So it's interesting because you just said, throughout your career, but you're not thinking of this as like a rowing career, as it were, at this time.
Not really. No, obviously there's no funding. There's no anything like I'm still having to like find a way to fund myself and. Work a little bit on the side just to pay for it, as we all did when we were at Leander. I mean, everyone had some weird jobs. Like, you were quite prolific at Leander. That's like kind of enclosed little micro economy there.
Yeah, a little bit. Potwash boy.
Well, how it started, basically, I wasn't allowed to do A-levels. So, because I didn't speak good enough English at the time when I first came to the UK, which is a bit funny now.
That's right. I wasn't smart enough to do.
Well, what they made me do a BTEC sport level 2.
Yeah.
Not even the level 3, it was the level 2.
Nice.
So I literally just finished all my coursework in February. But as part of the coursework, I had to do some work experience. Right. And I basically...
You went in to see Scott, didn't you?
No, I went to see Caroline.
Oh.
And then I pestered her to give me a job. And then she actually started me at front of house. Mm. And then I wasn't very good at that because I was very Polish in a very British club, just put it that way. And then obviously there was like 5 Polish blokes working in the kitchen, and Caroline was like, I've got a better idea.
I can't imagine what you were like front of house at the Under.
Back in those days.
I didn't need to imagine.
Go on.
Hello, what do you want?
I don't really remember much from those days because I can't remember any, like, because of the language discrepancy at the time. So you can please feel free to bring this up. So even for my own entertainment.
Go on. What's your memory of him at the time? We always joke about that. Do you remember the hoodie he had?
Oh yeah.
Rowing is life.
We love that. It was like that big like Vote Pedro, wasn't it? It was just like, I don't know. I guess you were like the stereotypical like take a kid from the Eastern Bloc and just like dump him in like the middle of like the old English establishment, like.
Yeah,
just like
no reserve, no patience, no off button.
No,
but then
and you loved rowing.
I loved it. I know. We still do to this day. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. But no, it's fun. See,
yeah, just doing it for the low. Yeah, that's what happens to the paycheck. You did it for the low.
Yeah, no. The reason why I kind of keep asking is sort of compared to what I myself and a lot of other people, it was always like, right, I'm going to be a professional athlete. I've always wanted to be a professional athlete. I just think the way you've done it is probably a better way to go about it. And I think it's cool for other people to hear, like, you don't have to like have this, you can just enjoy it in the moment.
Yeah. I guess like at the moment, like at the time, some of it was the worst thing ever. Like the stress, the pressure, seat racing is awful.
Yeah.
Like I think that's something that's pretty unique to rowing. Like, if you think about, say, a football team, or, you might have tryouts, you might have trials, you might have other things, but ultimately, your performance, or like your selection for that team in particular, is determined by like, you know, a manager saying, right, you're going to start this, you're not going to start this, and you'll get another opportunity perhaps, or throughout the season, like someone get injured, you step in, something like, you know, it's a lot more fluid. Or in, say, more individual sports like athletics or something like that, or cycling, it's very binary, and a lot of the time it's not based on like it's very rarely based on like a do or die, like on this day you will race, and you know, it generally is a culmination of your performances, a bit like how we trial. But the difference is when we trial, like the trial only really gets you to a point. Like you might get away, you might not have to seat race in a given year just because you're that far ahead or circumstances prevail. But generally, like, I can't think of another example of a sport where you have to sit there on a given day or a given couple of days and race all the people you've been training with for, you know, to effectively just knock them out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I still used to think of it as being like a more brutal and difficult than the World Championships, because you're like, I'm racing. This is either I'm going to make the step on, I'm going to make a team, I'm going to get a GB best, or I'm going to do none of those things this year. And then when you get through, especially GB under 23 is probably only 2 weeks to 3 weeks from like seat racing to the competition.
Yeah,
it's like I just had like the race of my life to get in the team, and now I've got to go up for it again, and like that I've found quite difficult at the time sometimes.
But then when you think about it, the other sports, what you said is quite interesting, that you can't find another example where you only have to perform in like 2 days in order to even get a seat in. In football or in rugby, I imagine it's done just on the coach's discretion.
That's hard, yeah.
Is that better or worse, you know?
I don't, but I guess for a lot of athletes, like, you can, at least it leaves the door open. It leaves a potential sort of like, this is this, or, I guess maybe it's different when you're in the bigger leagues and it's like you're on a contract and your contract comes to the end and you have to go find another one or renegotiate. But I guess it always leaves that door open and leaves a possibility. Whereas you kind of know when the boat's the boat is that's more, once you're in it for the first World Cup, it's unlikely to change too much.
Yeah.
And it's certainly all within your grasping your destiny.
Yeah, true.
Whereas, and Matrix for one thing, like, I mean, you didn't have much experience at Caversham, but you remember, like, when you used to get, like, Matrix at Caversham, like, everyone would always come out onto the balcony and, like, you wouldn't, I think the general, like, rule was you didn't say, like, oh, go on such and such, you just said go GB, or what, everyone cheered you on, and it was, like, it was quite good, and it was, when it came to seat racing, like, they're similar, but they are very different. Like, you are straight swap, and with an exact comparison, like, right, that boat won by a length, and now I've just swapped into it, and it's won by this much less. And you can, you see it happening in real time. You see, like, your potential rest of your season playing out in real time over the space of,
slow, doesn't it? Slows down, yeah.
Over the space of like 1,200 or 1,500 meters, how long the seat racing is. It's just a brutal game. Like,
when you put it like that, it's so intense.
It is awful. Like, it's absolutely awful. And then you'd be like, it's like, a lot of it's just bullshit as well. Like, you're sat at the start and like get level, get straight, and then someone's tapping you up and they're tapping it up, and everyone's trying to, like, you're trying to get an inch, and you start. It's fucking awful. It's horrible. Wouldn't do that.
But you did well in 2015.
2015, yeah.
The 23 team first.
Yeah, and I did a senior Worlds in that senior World Cup in that year. Yeah,
senior 2015. No, you did senior Worlds as well.
I did. Oh yeah, no, I did.
Yeah.
So I did a World. So
you went to Egg-Ballet?
I went to Egg-Ballet. Yeah.
Wow.
So did you know you were going to do seniors before you did in 23s, or was it off the back of that performance?
It was sort of floated throughout. So throughout the sort of trialing thing, the whole thing was like, right, we want a medal. We really wanted the gold medal, and we came very close to getting the gold medal. Steve Parsonage had come up, and he was so much better than me. Like, he was taller, faster, stronger, better looking, like everything you could ask for.
Steve Parsonage and Rory Copus, and was it Joel?
Jamie Copus.
Sorry, Jamie.
Joel, yeah.
Yeah, Joel
Casals, yeah. So it's sort of like, the idea was sort of floated at the time, and
Because in 2014, Steve got silver at Junior World.
Yeah, Steve had just, so he'd just like come in and he went straight to Leander and he was a nightmare. Like, he was the nightmare child, like so opposite to me, but like definitely like he really kept me on my toes that year. Really did. But in that season, trialed, and I was like, that's when I started to get like little invites and come to Caversham for the weekend or do this, or, you know, they'll send Rob Morgan down to watch me blow up on a 2K and then send them back. And that was a waste of time. Like, you know, there wasn't a lot of, that's when it started to get a bit more. I think that's when I certainly started to enjoy the journey a lot more. Like, you know, the earlier part, I don't really sit back. I can't really laugh about like the later stuff. Like, that's when, you know, those where like the sort of more fond memories are. So did trials, did quite well. I think he even made the A final out of the senior lot. And that was good. And I remember distinctly I was in Marlow, walking down the high street in Marlow, and I got a phone call and it was like possible scam call. And I was like, don't like this. And it called again and called again, you know, answered it, and it was like Shep, and he was like, hi Sam.
That possible scat.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's been up to.
Well, they thought it was like an AI voice.
Yeah.
He was, yeah. And Shep was like, so we need you to come to Caversham. You're going to World Cup, whatever it was, in the double. And I was like, okay.
Nice.
Didn't really understand what a World Cup was, even though I'd been rowing like in this thing. I knew what they were, but I didn't like. They are such different events to like. They're very fast paced. They're really intense. Like, especially later on when I started to do them in my single, they have
So many rounds,
big weekends. I think one of them I did 6 races in a weekend in 3 days, which was just like, that was, yeah.
Was it Jack, wasn't it, that basically measured up the amount of time he'd raced in his cycle compared to the 8
It's like 28 minutes or something like that. And like, it was like 11 and a half.
What's the worst? I think it was, I want to say it was Linz. Is
In
it
Austria.
Linz or Plovdiv, world champs, where it was heats, rep, quarters, semis, finals.
4 days in a row.
In a week. And the lightweight, because it wasn't a Olympic event, the finals were on the Friday.
Whoa.
So it was like Thursday through, like that was awful. That was awful time. Fun though, loved it.
Just like be the pain.
Yeah, so that under 23 boat, silver at under 23s in the quad.
Yeah.
Was that the same boat that when it took the whole boat?
We
So you-
all went apart from, so we went and did Henley, and then Zachary Green,
Yeah.
who was I did the double with earlier in that year, who was kind of like the +1 like sculler at the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, he did a bit of sweep. I don't mean that like in about, I mean like he was sort of like the next in line sculler. Because that was, well, Kirk was in the single. Yeah, Kirk was in the single, and Will and Rich were in the double.
Will Fletcher and Rich Jones.
Changers, yeah. And then Zach was kind of like the sort of the next sculler along the line. So Zach came into the quad, and then Joel went with Sam into the pair and won the pair.
Nice.
And that was a cool World Championships.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know they like the locals did not like the fact the world champs were there, but like the water there was just like turquoise as could get, and you could just row out into the middle, but just see straight down. And like, all the locals were like, oh yeah, like I finished racing and I just like put my arm in and I just drink the water, and I'd be like, cool, I just had a piss at the other end. Where it's diluted enough, but like,
Still be alright. Statute of limitations has passed.
yeah, that was a cool venue.
Fun first senior championship, stressful, feel like you've arrived.
Just no wait, no, like, you know, obviously
No expectation.
Tanner was there and like kind of expected some, like, you know, and obviously, yeah, so we should have. And we gave it a good crack. We did. I think we came fourth, and that was pretty good. I would say, like,
That's pretty good, mate.
yeah, it was all right. Like,
What are you going on about? It's pretty good.
it's like the quad though, so it was like, But
you're thinking non-Olympic events, so the competition's not as hard.
yeah, but it was good. It was good fun.
Were they happy with your performance?
I think they were. In the end. I mean, I've got some funny stories from there that might get a few.
We'll listen to that. We'll talk about them after. We can cut
Yeah.
not safe.
We can try and cut them out. See how you feel about. Yeah, kind of. So we finished racing, and obviously Rich was quite friendly with the Irish double.
Oh yeah.
And I think we were staying in a town called like Aix-les-Bains or something like. I wouldn't know how to say it exactly. And Rich was there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, come to the thing. We'll play some football, have some beers, and then we'll go out." And then like I think he was on the phone to Paul, and he was like, "Oh, that's where are you staying?" And he's like, "Oh, we're staying in Aix-les-Bains." And he's like, "Oh, no, shit, we're in a place called Aix-les-Bains." Like, no fucking recollection. It was the same place. Yeah, and then he ended up setting the bar on fire later that night. But
The O'Donovan brothers, yeah. I bet that was a fun party.
that was a fun part. Feral. So yeah, we did that. Obviously the World Cup was great, really cool to sort of be a part. And they do, at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but they did make it was like, because I was the only person there who'd never raced in a World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
We used to always have like these little meetings before the thing started, and like Tomo would come in, or whoever it was at the time. At the time, the lightweight men were under the women's program.
Yeah.
So it was like women's and lightweights, and then just the men's squad under Jürgen. So Tomo came and gave you all in one. And on you go. So you did feel quite special. And then going to the same senior worlds, you got the same sort of treatment as your first senior world championships. And it was a cool world chance to go to, and it was a good outing.
Was it quite nice representing GB? Obviously, at that time, you were sweeping everything up, like golds pretty much in every category as well. It was the pre-Rio Olympiad.
Yeah, I mean, that time especially, it felt quite weird. Like not go to a world championships and not get a medal was like. But again, we were very young, and like there probably wasn't a lot of like expectation.
Sure.
To win, but
almost from what you're describing, it sounds like you're like resilient to all of the pressure that was like accompanied by wearing a GB vest, going to a world championship. It was like, yeah, I guess we were expecting to perform.
Ignorance is like pretty bliss.
Yeah.
Like when you don't really quite understand the scope and the scale of it.
So would you put it down to that, other than just your ways of handling pressure?
Some of it's like just a lot of the way I just handle pressure is just deal with it, like handle it in the moment, just get on with it, like. And like you sort of, everyone's got a different sort of way of putting it, and like like Jürgen would always say like the loser would train harder, like loser trains harder. Like a few of the guys always say like pressure is privilege. For me, it was always sort of like the greatest poison on earth is like comfort. If you're comfortable in anything, in any part of your life, it is poisoning you. It is going to poison you. Like, and it could be anything. Like it could be like you're working away, at work, and you're really successful, and you're going through, but you take your eye off the ball, and, it breeds complacency, and it doesn't develop what you want to be, and where, so any failure, any knockback, it was always just like, that's fine. Like the pain is, that's discomfort. That's good. If I'm comfortable, I'm not in the right place. Like I'm doing something wrong, because if I'm hurting myself for the future, and you need to be uncomfortable. And it's in anything. It's in like, you go out for dinner, like, oh, I can't be asked to cook, so I'm just going to go have a oven pizza or some really crappy takeaway, like, because that's comfort. Or, I eat the bad stuff because it makes me feel good in the moment. Or, I'm training and I'm doing the weights, and I'm skipping out on the extra, that last set of planks, that last 60 seconds, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're choosing the comfort over, the discomfort.
So you would seek out the discomfort.
Yeah.
And then you almost find a way to enjoy it, because like, this is good for me.
Yeah, basically.
That's awesome. I love everything that you just said.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, it's this is worth something, this podcast.
Yeah, no, we're getting good stuff from you.
You could look at it and like your whole, you could apply that, and it's like a bit applied to my life now anyway. Like you don't want to be comfortable. Comfort will kill you, like eventually. Like I'm not saying you should seek out or don't go seek out extreme poverty, or don't go, don't go but if you're comfortable, it does definitely breed complacency.
I love it. It's essentially just turning the perspective on something, and for you saying times, it's really difficult and it's tough and it was stressful and you didn't necessarily enjoy racing, but it's like, I want to do this thing. This is the price to pay. So I do it. And I love that sort of idea of I want a pizza, but vegetables and plain meat is good for me. So I'm going to fucking enjoy it because it's good for me.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's something anyone could use and just in their head be like, rather than be like, oh, I don't like eating vegetables. This broccoli sucks. It's like, this broccoli is going to make me a winner. In my head, I get the idea of how you could, exactly what you said, the plank, fuck it, I don't need to do this last one.
But but you are poisoning yourself at that point. Do you know what I mean? You're hurting yourself, not in the moment.
The future self, yeah.
But you're not investing it. It's not a good way to be. It's certainly not a good way to get to where you want to be, or at least just keep you on the road of the the journey.
I remember, I think it was Pete Lambert. We always used to talk about, I think Pete Lambert was one of the ones that really was doing it. He would always talk about past self and future self, and how that you can do something. If you're going to do something for anyone, you may as well do it for your future self.
Yeah.
If you were going to put any investment into it. But then at the same time, you sort of laugh oh, well, I haven't done my third session today. Well, that's a problem for tomorrow, Pete. Today, Pete doesn't have to deal with that, but tomorrow, Pete's got an extra 12K on the program. So you could do it wrong.
I want to ask, so 2015, are you getting any funding at this point?
We got to funding towards the end of 2015,
And then...
And that was that at the time was I needed it. I didn't need, I needed the money really to be able to carry on. And certainly because I was getting drawn more and more into the senior team.
I was spending a lot of time
working,
spending a lot of time at Caversham in 2015.
Getting more and more and more.
Yeah.
And then
2016, are you invited to train full time, or are you still?
I am more or less full time. Yeah.
At Caversham, or would you still be training at the end?
I was at Caversham most of 2016 with Zach at that time.
Yeah.
Because
tough year, Olympic year.
Yeah. Again, it was I had no sniff at the Olympics. I had no part in that. Do you know what I mean? There was no chance, but I was obviously had to be part. I had to be there and be part of it. And it was it's a wild time, and didn't really even at the time, I knew Chris, I knew, Fletch and Rich and all the other people, but in Pete, you didn't actually realize, I don't know, I never really made the connection at the time. I was oh, these are the people who in 2012 were in that epic,
Fours
final. And if there was ever a statement of oh, that's a loss. I totally understand why, they got rid of the fours, and and in turn why they got rid of the doubles. But it is a loss, and it's you're not going to get it back. It's never coming back, and it is a shame because it's it was a hell of a race and a hell of a you wouldn't get that or very rarely would you get that in almost any other race.
Yeah, and it was everyone tuned in to watch the lightweight for it. You wanted to watch that final. It's ridiculous blanket finishes again and again and again. Yeah, amazing racing.
Yeah. So 2016, that was wild. And then I even remember
at the time. So 2016 there is a 4, but did they know it was going to be taken out?
No, we can get to that.
Okay.
Get to that. That was 2017, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I thought we can talk about that in a bit, but was there, and my whole thing was obviously knew we weren't going to the Olympics, and my decision was that's when they did that Super Worlds at Rotterdam, that's the one. And it was right, do I do the single as an under 23 or do I do the quad as a senior? And through one way or another, I don't even think we really did much seat racing, but they ended up doing the quad. They did the quad and I ended up doing the single, which again was great. I loved it. I do
Don't mind training in the single?
I love the single.
Yeah.
Single, I just love it to pieces.
Not hiring anyone.
I don't know. You could give it any reason, but it's you, it's yourself. I think it definitely suits me. we all talk about races as if they're 2K, but they're not 2K. They're a time. And, it could be 2,000 meters, but if you're in a stonking headwind, you could have like over a minute spread in a fast for a fast single and, fast, single in a tailwind versus single in a headwind.
Yeah.
You have nearly like a minute spread. It's a totally different event. You're adding like, what?
17%, more than that.
Yeah, 17%. You're adding, it's a totally different event. And then obviously doubles are a bit faster, quads a bit faster, eights faster again. But no, I just always loved the single.
Was he good at it?
So you would race the single very differently to how you would race a double or a quad? Do you feel of it as like that different in your head or not?
I don't think it felt any different. I think the not having to rely on anybody.
Yeah.
Like that was something. The extra 2.5 kilos, very nice.
Okay, yeah. So weight wise, so in a crew boat,
as a male, it was 70 crew average with a no more than 72, I believe, or 72.5 individual.
Yeah.
And then no one person could give any more than like a certain amount to, because obviously it works on averages, but not like one person couldn't be like 50 kilos and everyone else be, not 80.
Yeah.
You had to, like tip it out.
But in a single
2.5, 72.5.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah. Felt comfortable. Especially when you were like throughout, like we probably get onto like the more turbulent years beyond 2015, where I started to like end up in boats and then out of boats, in boats, out of boats, and seeing, like that extra 2.5 kilos was like just dreamy. And like, especially when you're being down to 70, like everything was easier. This was like, I've got this, like I can eat, I can drink. I don't have to feel like death when I wake up. Don't have to go do a sweat bath or anything like that.
Were you doing that regularly? Was that for a performance benefit? As in you maintain a higher weight, but then you cut because it's not going to hurt?
So as a lightweight, I think the lightweight women have a much different view to it on the lightweight men. And I don't want to speak too much on like, like the way in which like people make weight is very personal to them.
Sure.
And, there are some pretty horrific stories out there. Like I'm sure you both probably heard some of them like over the years.
Mostly from UFC and what they do, how they able to like drop 10 kilos in a day.
But yeah, well, that's different because they have different, they weigh in the day before, whereas you guys weigh in
2 hours.
2 hours before, yeah. So what I was trying to say was, if 70 is the weight you want to hit, presumably there's an amount of weight, say you'd be better off holding 2 kilos more of muscle being 72 and then cutting 2 kilos and then you'll race at 72 as opposed to try and maintain 70 and not having to cut.
Exactly.
So the cut's horrible, but it's a performance benefit.
There's almost a performance loss because you're 2 hours before. So that means like you've only got an hour real window of any chance of rehydrating and fueling. So if you haven't eaten anything, you're really dehydrated, especially it's like, because that's the easiest way, especially if you've cocked up. Like a number of times you've gone like, so we used to like practice. I think this is something that never really got spoke about. I don't know if you guys ever really noticed, but like when we used to go to like race events, we would actually dry run like weighing in.
Mm-hmm.
So we would work out like, right, in the hotel room, I am 71 kilos. Now I'm going to drive down to the course. It takes me this much. I have lost 200 grams in this journey, and then I'll do my pre-paddle work. Right. In my pre-paddle, I've now lost this much. This is how much I need. This is how much I've got to left, or, so you could kind of do any sweating or do anything you need to do back at the hotel, drive down, and then land exactly on weight. But then inevitably, sometimes it's hotter, sometimes it's cooler, sometimes your body just doesn't want to do it. Right?
What about like a wrong scale? They had a different scale.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, we've had that before. There's also 2 different scales. There was the same. So there's always 3 of the exact same scales. Whenever you used to go into weigh-in, and there used to be a test scale and then two weigh-in scales. And typically you would only ever use one. But I remember there was one with tape on it and one without tape on it. And the one with tape on it was like 50 grams lighter every single time than the one without it. And like, it came down to that. And like, if it flicks the wrong side, you know, bearing in mind you're out waiting, if it flicks the wrong side, you're back out there. You've got to then get hot again, get sweat on, lose some more weight, get back on the scales, do it. Like, and then it's a real pressure. And then you've got less time to think, rehydrate, get out in the water, do your stuff, race. And then you got to think, right, crap, that race didn't go to plan. I've got a race tomorrow morning, thing in the repocharge. So I'm already thinking about what I'm doing to refuel, rehydrate.
I couldn't possibly imagine thinking about some of the biggest events I've ever done and 2 hours before having to be 2 kilos lighter than I should be. I don't know if I told the story about from Amsterdam.
Maybe.
I did under 23s in Amsterdam in 2011, and I used to hold quite a lot of weight after flying.
Yeah.
And I was a heavier guy. It was the end of my, I was one of the oldest. I was a little bit heavier, and my weight just wasn't coming down. 2 or 3 days in, like Henry Belhash came up and was like, Tom, you need to have a look at your weight, you try and get this couple of kilos back down or whatever. And I'm like a heavyweight, and I'm the guy I've just eat everything I can see my entire life and never put any weight on. So I have no experience in ever doing any form of cutting at anything. So I was just like, right, well, I'll skip breakfast, I'll skip lunch. Like, I'll skip those two. We're only doing 8K paddle, whatever. I'll be fine. Skip breakfast, skip lunch. We've got an afternoon session. It's getting to afternoon. I'm like, I'm struggling a bit now. And we get down to the course, and I'm like heading. I can't breathe. Who's got an energy jar? I need an energy jar. I remember in my head being like, I'm never skipping a meal again in my life. I might die. This is like the most fucking classic heavyweight idiot. Thinks he could just skip 2 meals.
Meanwhile, there's probably some lightweights there, like sweating down and cooking just some bin bags.
Absolute idiot, yeah.
The worst thing, and I'm not proud of it, the worst thing I think I ever did was when I was really, really struggling to lose weight. What I used to do is drink 2 litres of fizzy water in the evening, so finish training. 2 litres of fizzy water in the evening, 6.
Just to fill yourself up?
Just to fill yourself up, yeah. And then go to bed, no blanket, window open, as cold as possible.
To burn calories.
So your body's fucking shivering to burn calories. I had to do that. I did that for a couple of weeks, and then I was like, this is not a good idea.
Wow.
The stuff you go through.
This is a side of lightweight running that you don't really hear about. But yeah, like you said, everyone's had their own personal ways of losing weight. So this is probably you can add 50 extra different ways.
I know some. I've seen some far more horrific examples.
Yeah, I've seen some. Yeah, you've seen some scary times when you come down to a race in the morning. I remember.
I'll tell you, do you ever remember in the Leander before they rechanged the change rooms? Do you remember you used to have that boiler room?
Yeah.
Yes.
I used to remember.
Yeah. You always know if there's a lightweight switch down because you would go in to get some kit and there's an exercise bike with a puddle of water
around it. Awful. I remember it was a 2K day at Cavish at Leander. I never had to sweat down when I was there, but some of the older people did. And I just remember they used to do the little the tours and used to take them out rowing and whatnot. And he's showing all these people around, and someone who obviously didn't know the club that well opened up, because there was 2 doors to it, opened up the door, and it was just this lightweight, half dead, fully clothed in the middle of February, just
here you'll see one of our lightweights currently sweating down.
It's in this little dungeon, something out of Matilda, and just shot that back. Send them into the gym.
Hello. Oh, that's so fun. I never used to realise why there were puddles of sweat there.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Well, you never thought why it stunk so horrifically.
Well, but I mean, kit hanging up in it.
That's so much.
Oh, there's towels. Yeah.
So 2016, obviously you were at Caversham. You said you were in the mix, obviously training there full time. But were you up for trying to get selected into Rio? How did that work for you at the time?
That was way beyond my. I knew that was done.
So you were prepped for Tokyo then?
Well, say Tokyo. It was let's do the World Championships and let's see what happens next year, really, because obviously there'll be a big changeover, and that's like that's when you sort of become a proper full-time championship athlete. Like,
Right.
you're no longer a rookie. It's not your first year there. You know, and you're starting a full Olympic cycle.
How many lightweights
I don't know.
are then in that squad, like post Olympics and coming back?
There's quite a few, to be fair. Not everyone, but I mean, there must have been me, Sam, Joel, Pete, Will. I think Rich was there for a bit. I mean, it was like at least 8 of us. I'd say.
Like a returner.
Yeah. And that's when we first started to get like the first sort of sniffs of like, oh, they're voting on the boats for the next Olympic cycle. And that's when we, you know, in that winter of 2016 after Rio, we kind of, you know, I think I remember Joel coming up and sort of, because he was the athlete rep or whatever it was at those times. And then, Tanner sort of pulled us all into a meeting and sort of said like, right, we're gonna look to, you know, we are voting to get rid of the thing. We're going to support a quad for a year. But then after that, we're going to look to try and downsize the squad to sort of like 4 or 5 people, which was like quite big when there's 8 of you there already. Do you know what I mean?
You're going to get cut in half.
Yeah, and you're still waiting for like the likes of Fletch to come back for them, you know, to sort of fully come back into the fold and that lot. So that, again, that was like, that's when it became a lot more like back into that sort of survival mode of.
What's your attitude when you hear something like that? Is it like, let's fucking get it? Or it's like, whoa, okay.
It's like a lot of things. What do you do? Like, you can either roll over and die, or you can get up and fight, and it's your choice. Like,
yeah.
And that's the only choice you had, is carry on and don't. And then went through trials, did quite well. I can't remember how I ended up that year. I was floating around in the quad because we were planning on sending, I think, a pair, a quad, and a double. And I was floating around kind of in that quad, and that was looking like that was pretty good. And that's when it was in Sarasota that year, that was a cool event to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, Tam must have gone out there like 20 times before to like check out the hotel and all that.
That's weird. He didn't go to Belarus 20 times.
Oh, yeah, I do that. But it was nice. It was a nice thing, and it was like, it's one of those ones where, well, first off, in the build up to it, Fletch got injured and ill, and I can't remember whose doubles partner was. I think it might have been Zach. And for whatever reason, they basically chopped and changed, and like I just sort of like fell into the lightweight double. So I'd gone from like under 23 the year before, not doing the thing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm in the Olympic class boat at the World Championships, like first year of the Olympic cycle. And that's when it was like, oh, this is actually starting to get like a bit serious now.
It reminds me of, remember when Charles Cousins told us after coming back from London, he said, well, I think I might start taking this quite serious now. Yeah. You've been to an Olympics and you're like, I'm going to start taking it serious now. I know what you mean though. It's difficult looking back. I think you don't want to like, jinx it by being like, I've made it now, or I'm here. So you're constantly always thinking, oh, it's good, but there's still this many guys ahead of me. Still haven't.
It's also like, that's the world, though. Like,
yeah.
all you really know is like the people around you. You know, especially in like a smaller event like the lightweight double or a single. There's 20 people. There's it's like they all fit in your childhood classroom. Do you know what I mean? Like the actual number of people that do this.
Yeah,
it's a very small world that you sort of live in.
Especially lightweights, even smaller. Every squad has always been smaller.
And then, like, as you move up through it, like, there's always people sort of falling out, that ending careers and coming out, and there's always people coming back up. But you sort of come through in almost like these, when you do like the swimming or the triathlons, you go off in like waves. It's almost like that. You go through it in like a big wave, and that's all you ever know. Is like, I couldn't, it's like when does a couple of grains of sand become like a pile of sand? There's no real point between when did I start as a junior to when like, oh, I'm in the Olympic class boat. Like this, it's so you're in it at the time. You don't know. You just keep on adding to it and adding to it and adding to it, and people around you sort of come and go, and some people come up with you, some people go away with you. Like
It's still a great thing because I think there's probably a lot of people who think that there should be this sort of madman, and it's not. It doesn't work like that. So if you don't feel like that, it's okay. Nothing's necessarily going wrong because you haven't been like, I've arrived. Like it can
just happen to you, and that's that's not to say you don't care, or because you'll probably care just as much, if not more. Like that.
So did the pressure then start to rack up when you find yourself in an Olympic class boat?
Yeah, first Olympic class.
That's when like I went back to Leander, and I went back to just on an off day back there, and I realised like, oh shit, like this is like quite serious. this is quite a level. Again, it was last minute. It wasn't last minute. It was like World Cup 3 and then straight off to Worlds. I'm trying to think if that. I think at that point we shifted to Jurgen's squad. I think in that year, and that was totally different. Like everything about it was different. I personally much preferred it. Some people didn't. That's fine.
What were some of the differences?
Just number one, I think it was like, especially when like Fletch was obviously a lot faster than the rest of us. He was definitely beating like a fair few of the heavyweights quite often. And like Jurgen really bred like this culture of like, you will not be beaten by a lightweight like ever again. Like that was the same year. I nearly did John over on the 5K.
I was going to say, did that ever bother you? That sort of sense of like, oh, heavyweights are always better than lightweights, or lightweights aren't as good, or did you ever
honestly
see any of that? Or
no, honestly, I think it was totally opposite. I think everybody they had such insane respect for like and we would always go around, like we'd row right next to the quad, we would row next to the 8. I remember like some of the best days, some of the funnest things. I remember once we did a session, so like the circulation at Caversham was quite a contentious point. like if you have a conversation of like which boat should be in the centre lane and you don't immediately have an argument, you definitely haven't rowed at Caversham before. Like it is a real contentious point. Like but some of those sessions used to go out and it'll be like the men's 4, the men's 8, men's quad, and then us in the lightweight quad, and it would be 4 lanes of width, and you'd all turn, and obviously like whoever was in the inside to the boy lane would go to the outside lane, so everyone would move over the same number. But obviously the quads could turn faster than the 4s, they could turn faster than the 8s. So you'd end up with like, you'd be drag racing up and down the lake for like 16, 18k quite happily, like next to each other. And those were like, just like, again, that was like one of those sort of half-hour moments where you're like, you could just bottle that up and like, you could just sell it like.
Bow paddling.
Yeah.
I did it. It was I don't know if I've said it, but yeah, we did it one year under 23s, and I was getting like well into the battle paddling. I was like screaming and shouting, and we're like carrying all that 8s, and we get to one end, and I just hear on the microphone, Shep goes, "Tom Clark, a little more rowing, a little less chat, please." That's how I get something. Good.
But those were like those are like those. When I look back, I don't think of like the time I like almost broke my hand hitting a wall because I was so pissed off that like a half hour that I fucked up, or I look back at those times like when you were
Well, you've done the Charles Cousins.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't look back at it. I don't look back at the arguments I would have had with Copus numerous times. Like, I don't look at any of that. Like, that's, if I wanted to go back, I'd want to go back and do that. I'd want to go back and do the half hours, the 5Ks. I know you're not so keen on it, but like,
no, I get exactly what you mean.
That for me, like, you can keep your world championships and the epic moments, and we can argue over the Europeans that I got a medal and single. Like, those were like, but out there training, those were like, that's where I'd want to go to.
Yeah, I can't remember who was told us, but I think he said that his, I think maybe it was Jack, had said that his, it was Sam Townsend had said that the thing about this place is you'll never again be in a place where so many people have a single focus. I think is where that energy and that spark is, because everyone's willing to, claw their own eyeballs out to get a second faster on this next ego. And like when you start feeding off that energy.
I completely can relate to that. Obviously, like if you ask me to pinpoint like the best moment I've had at Leander, it would just be a random Saturday morning after everyone comes in from the pieces, Black Eyed Peas is blasting, we're all about to go and have breakfast. It's just all laughs and smiles, and you've been out on the river, done your first thing. Like that's what it was about.
Yeah. But it was a cult, like it was a whole culture around it. Like I remember Mo used to be like, Mo was in charge of the music. You didn't like,
Yeah,
you didn't mess with that.
yeah. That was the same back even when I was there.
Like you knew.
John Collins got the occasional.
Yeah,
Had he been banned? Had he been banned by that point?
I think that's pretty bad. He's got a room named after him at Caversham now.
Does he?
Yeah, Collins' football house apparently. There's a little, there's a little bit in the middle now. Whole room.
Oh, hilarious! Well, he did a shift. He did
a
little shift.
I think Graham's still.
Graham's still going.
Yeah, that's weird. That would freak me out if I was him. Like, the people who are there now, like, they weren't born when the .com bubble burst. These are like, and they're like, these are adults. Like,
yeah, I was looking at some of the guys that won under 23s this year, and was like, oh my god.
Yeah, don't look at those birthdays.
So, what the hell?
They won't know the pain of a mini disc player getting wet.
I said to Tom when he won Thames Cup, like the people who were born during that year are now turning 18.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Makes you feel young, doesn't it?
I'm an old man. Not yet. So yeah, 27. I mean, we didn't speak about how did the event go?
The Worlds when
who were you in the pair with? Sorry.
In the double, I was in the double with
obviously
Copus.
Right. Okay.
Back around. So, and to be honest, for the most part, we got on quite well. I think we'll probably cover a brief note of me and like if you got two people. Like, if God made two people, you couldn't find two different personalities than me and Jamie. Like, we are just everything we do is totally opposite. And I love him to pieces. Like it's a privilege, and we all share this privilege of knowing Copus. I don't mean this as an insult, but we will never go through our life and meet another individual quite like him. Like, he is so unique in his own way, and I am just the polar opposite of it. Everything we do is just like
small crews is always difficult. I would sort of remember a lot of people sometimes being surprised. Like, there's sort of this assumption that, oh, you rode together all the time, like you must also be like best friends and also like do everything else together. And it's like you don't always get the advantage of like necessarily being close or having any other common ground other than this is the challenge that we want.
We had things in common. Like, we both like the NFL. We had like little bits and pieces, but just on our fundamental operating systems, one of us is at Microsoft and one of us is Apple, and there is no like.
But also at the same time,
I get what you mean.
That wouldn't be an issue if you weren't trying to be the best in the world at something. That's when those things kind of come up, and you wouldn't be if you weren't pushing your side. Then you would. You know, I've had some serious arguments. We've all done it in crews, nearly to fists.
Oh yeah, like definitely. And I've been told off so many times. I have shouted at Jamie. I've said things I would never want to repeat. And I didn't mean it. I meant it at the time because obviously it meant something to me. But like, to Jamie's credit, he never held it against me. Like, he accepted it, and we.
You were fast. You were fast.
We were fast.
You used the boat fast.
But even that, like, he accepted some of my frustrations, and I accepted some of his. Like Jamie would like have like all like he would. I would go rowing, and it wouldn't bother. Like, I'd have like an all-in-one and maybe a water bottle, which I won't drink out of, and that would be it. And like, he would need his speed coach, is this, is that, is all these other bits and pieces. Like, or like the thing that really used to grate me is like, used to be like, right, Jamie, we're going to meet at the boat at 12:30 at the boat, hands on, ready to go. We are away. 12:32, he comes down, like sort of strolling down. Then he'd be like opening up his bag, check something, like check this, check that. Oh yeah, and he's in his own little world. And like, it used to bug the absolute living daylights out of me, because like, all I'm going through in my head is like, right, now we don't have enough time on the water. Now we're going to have to compress the warm up. We're not going to have like, all I wanted to do is like get the warm up done and go, just sit at the end of the lake and just have a moment before racing. And all that time was being tuned up by, fuckery, really. But like as we went on and throughout the years, as we sort of came in and out of the double, like I certainly learned to accept it. I think he learned to accept some of my, flaws and my issues, and like
I would think ultimately it's just as difficult as it at times at any level in rowing. It's understanding that, like, as long as you share the same goal, you're trying to get to the same place, and you can go different ways about it.
Yeah.
But and the other thing is just, it's exactly what you said, is like, if you have a problem with crew members, learn what it is, what they like to do. If they're going to be 5 minutes late, then say that there are like little things that you can do, or if they're gonna chat your ear off an hour before race day, but you don't want to fucking hear anyone, then you sit at the other side of the room from them. Like, there are ways to
you take it into your own hand, like you take control of that situation in your own way. Like, that's all you can do, because I can't change him. Like, I can't put into him what God left out. Like, I'm not religious, but like, you're born with like a certain skill set. If you don't possess that thing, no one can make me taller. No one can make me better at reading or writing, or like, you can't put that into you. You can't. So you're just going to have to work with what you've got and understand that.
control the controllables.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to talk about a lot. Yeah,
exactly. That was all something that came up all the time. So,
but the event went well.
2017 lightweight double Olympic event. You and Jamie fourth. That's what I've got written down.
Oh, must have been. Don't think it was.
No? Where do you think you came?
Fifth.
A final. First Olympic class event. Happy with that? Or obviously,
I remember
medal,
distinctly punching the boat afterwards. I was very upset.
I'm happy with your performance specifically.
On that day, I couldn't tell you exactly why. I don't know why. I unleashed on Jamie that day. Very unfairly. I don't know why it meant so much to me at the time. Arguably, objectively, looking back at it, I'd be like, oh, sweet. Like, that was a great performance, really, for first outing. But I couldn't tell you what the good thing was, what the bad thing was, what we did right, what we did wrong. I remember there was an alligator in the lake.
Who was coaching you for this sort of pro?
That one was, I think that was Hamish at that time.
Hamish. How did you find Hamish from up in Scotland?
Hamish Burnell.
Yeah,
George Watson.
Yeah.
College. Okay.
Yeah, we had a chat with him. We were up fixing eggs at John George, and he's a super. Yeah. He's the Hamish.
Yeah, he is the
another different individual. I'd say different.
He is a data-driven individual.
Yeah,
like he is data. Like, you'll never find, like, they would work on, his spreadsheets were like incredible. Like, the things you could do on that, like, no one else could. He was so good at getting them up and working and coming up with percentages and numbers, and quite often they were like absolutely like bang on. Like, you wanted a 604 ergo, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. 604, bang, done. You do that, you hit those numbers, you'll do it like.
Well, I forgot to ask you then, what was your best 2K?
6:03.4, I think.
Mate, that is absolutely ridiculous.
Insane.
On weight at 70.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't crash the car that time.
That's the difference. Man, that's world class. You got to be happy with that. What year did you do that?
That was 20. That was the year I did the single that was just before Plovdiv, when the rigger fell off.
So 2015.
Yeah.
Wow.
That regrets that, I guess.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so for context, like, in order to be a lightweight senior in most countries, you typically need to be sub 6'10". And bear in mind that those...
You mean senior?
Senior, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, senior lightweight. You need to be like 6'10".
If you're doing anywhere near sub 6'15", it's fine.
Yeah.
6'12" is like, you're good. 6'10" is like...
World Championship.
Yeah. Sub 6'10" is like...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for context, anything sub 6'10" is like World Championship international standard.
So put it
so that's like beyond, because bear in mind there's no variation on weight. So if you can squeeze anything out of that, that's like, I'm just saying that's an incredible result.
You don't like how...
No, like, yeah, it's all right. Then Zach before me, like, was obviously, I think he broke 6. I know Rich broke 6 beforehand. I think Fletcher's come a couple of times. So like, there's a few of us, but that wasn't a bad I'm more, if I was to be proud of anything, I would say the 5K was more.
Yeah, and that is also a
That's
disgusting number.
That was more. That was a better ergo for me than the
That's amazing.
2K. I punched the screen off as well afterwards.
There's a theme here. There's a theme.
Yeah.
There's a lot of punching.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have been a boxer. Let me take a look at your knuckles.
I'm going to stay this side of the table over here. Okay, cool. So off the back of 2017, obviously, you said start the Olympiad, still sort of pretty fresh.
Still pretty fresh. I know I wasn't happy with it, but it was what it was.
How did you find the step up to Caversham? And you said like the step up at Leander was a big
I
one.
think the step up to Caversham I was used to. Like, sorry, go on. That first day at Caversham, like when I was still halfway at Leander, that was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it is a different world. Like, you're like, out the freezer into the frying pan. Like, you go there and like, you just cannot keep up with these people. Like, and everything's just bigger. So I don't know if you've ever been to like New York or something. Just everything, or America in general, just everything's just bigger and like faster and harder and more difficult. And you go into the rowing thing and like you're going out, you're doing 20K on a lake. 20K on a lake's brutal. Like, it's hard enough when you're on like in a viz and it's flat and you're just rowing out for miles, rowing back. It's gorgeous.
I remember as there's a morning session there.
Yeah,
I sort of remember thinking like on the face of it, like the difference between the Caversham and the Leander program, like really wasn't that much.
no.
But the reality was like the Caversham program was absolutely unwavering. Like you did every single meter.
Yeah.
And only when I did that did I then think back and realize how many times at Saturday second session the coach would let us come in a bit earlier, or the erg would have been changed from a...
So we're doing the Leander 8.
Yeah, and they're just actually 6. That one is that as well obviously helped for the mileage. But it just so many times when it's like there was just little adjustments and it just wasn't like Caversham, but it's just like this brick wall.
Yeah. And you're working, like you come in and you're trying to like, you don't want to get thrown back out. So many people over the years, we all know them who went in and like they're like springboards, balls on bats, like coming in and going out, coming in, going out, coming in, like, and you didn't want to be that person because you might never know when you're going to get back in again. So you just sort of crack on and push.
And the powers that be obviously were happy with the result, a final in the Olympic class, but at the start of the Olympiad, because you said you went, you've obviously had a bit of an argument afterwards, but the powers that be were happy.
I have to ask them. Paul, get some.
Oh yeah, sometimes it's difficult to know. I know what you mean. Like
we're going to get someone actually on. I spoke to my Henley. Give me his card when he's over from Australia.
I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah. He said he was keen, so it'd be fun.
Now I've got Tanner's details as well.
That'd be good.
So 2018, back into single.
Back into the single. That is
Tough year.
Plovdiv.
Yeah.
That was a rough year.
Did Euros first in 2018?
Yes. So 2018, I had an awful winter, like awful. I was ill all the time. I just couldn't get well. I don't know what was up. I just ill all the time. Anytime I felt good, I got ill again. And that was when they were starting to cut down numbers as well, which was a really horrible time. And I remember I woke up on the day the day of final trials, so that was going to be a big final trials. And in the lead up to it, I'd finally got myself quite well. Like me and Fletcher doing lots of pieces next to each other. Like I felt like this is definitely within my grasp to like put in a really good performance here and get things sorted. I woke up on the day and I was ill, and I mean like ill. And I drove in like fully like dressed and sweated, and I'd called Hamish and Dan on the way over, and I was like, I'm not well, like, and they said, I'll just come in and we'll chat about it. And I went in and they were just like, no, go home. Like immediately just saw like this gaunt, skinny thing, and I was driving home and I actually just pulled over and fell asleep. Like I was so unwell. And then that was an awful time because I was kind of out the loop, didn't know what was going on, had no knowledge of what had been decided, who was being cut, who wasn't being cut, who's retiring, who isn't retiring. Didn't really know where I stand. Kind of thought at that time that might be it, like might not, didn't have a good year or anything. But thankfully I carried on got a chance to do I think I did a double at one of the World Cups, and then ended up doing the single at Europeans, which was in Glasgow, which was absolutely amazing. Like, I think whenever you get to race in front of a home crowd, it's great. I've always loved Strathclyde. Another controversial, like,
Yeah, Charlotte,
Finland.
first 500.
I love it. Like, I do like it up there, actually. But it was part of like a European Games thing. I think they now do them sort of every 4 years, and like the whole thing was just a little different. And it was actually the first Europeans I've ever done. And again, that's like, they're weird because you go there thinking it's going to be a World Cup, and it's not. It's quiet. There's no one there because obviously there's no Aussies, there's no Americans, there's no New Zealand, there's no China, it's just okay. In the lightweight events, most of it is quite European based, but yeah, it was totally different. Televised again, like something a bit, like televised in real time, and it was like a mini Olympics program. So I'll be going from the cycling to the, to the athletics and all that sort of stuff. And I was in the single, and like I remember we got there the first day, and it was horrific. Like, and I mean horrific.
It is bad up there.
Like, it was awful. I remember like walking my boat down, and just being like, just literally going like sideways into the wind, and like, there's just no way we're actually rowing on this. You can't be serious. I'm like, go on, off you go. And it was like completely unrowable. Came back in, like slides underwater and all this stuff. You just get on with it. Like, when did the first round, did quite well. When did the second round, great. Did the semi-final, won that. And I was like, oh, this could be on. Like, and then that night I was ill. Like, I feel sorry for Henry because I was up all night throwing up on the toilet, like just in a complete state, didn't sleep at all. And then finally got myself sorted. Luckily I could eat whatever I wanted at that point and drink whatever I wanted. And I was gone. I wasn't feeling good. And then I just remember Henry saying, like, you're going to be fine. I'll fucking do this. I was like, yeah, I think I might, actually. I think I might just do that. Got out, got on the bus, went down there, weighed in, do all the normal sort of stuff. Got out onto the race, and it was a different vibe because like everyone there, like people knew your name. Like, I remember people on the bank who were just, just bystanders who were obviously watching the TV. Or they've been watching on the TV, like, oh, good luck, Sam, like, all this sort of stuff. It was a different vibe, and it was nice. Went off the start, completely dropped. I mean, completely dropped. And I remember I watched the footage back a couple of months later. They've got like the live trackers. I remember seeing the one at like halfway, and it was like the first three people. And they always used to have like a little meterage on there, like 1 meter off the lead, 2 meters off the lead. And then I saw my one, it was like 48 meters off the lead.
Halfway.
At halfway, it was ridiculous.
Was that like 5-6 lengths?
Fuck, way more than that in a single. Fuck it, it was a lot. Like, I was a long way back. But the other guys had gone off. They had gone off really hard, and I
What's the game plan? Were you had speed coach? Do you feel like you were doing well, or you were like, what's going on?
Well, I went off, and I was like, took 3 strokes, and I was like, oh, fucked it. Like, this is shit. Right, let's sort this out. So got to 250, going all right. I mean, I sort of carried on executing the sort of the rhythm and the speed and the rent, doing the sort of things I thought I was doing right. And I got 750 in, and I was like, well, just gonna have to fucking go. Like, there's no real other option here.
You're in trouble when you see the 750 mark, and you're like, it's time to go, boys.
But that's what it was, and it was like, there's only me, like. So there was me and one other bloke who was over in the far lane that was kind of sort of somewhere vaguely close to. So I went from like 6th, took him, went to 5th, like, and then just sort of started eating. And just, I think a lot of it sort of played into my style of racing because I'm no good off the start. I never have been, never will be. Always a slow starter. I just couldn't ever change it. But I think one of my only strengths was that kind of it was a headwind, it was a longer race, and I could always build. I felt like I could always build, and like, I never really felt like I could blow as such. I could just always feel like, right, now's the time to go. Like, keep on lifting and taking that extra layer and just going that bit harder, that bit deeper, that bit harder. Like, a bit more pain, like, and seeing the rewards. I think that's what's like the best thing about the single is like, especially when you're very attuned to racing and you're very attuned to your surroundings, you can see and you can feel that like that guy next to you is suffering, like he is suffering more than I am. And like, I don't know, and if I just take one turn of speed, he is going to drop off. Like he's not going to be able to live with this. And then it just 8 back away, just lifting. And then obviously home crowd, it just got louder and louder and louder. And then, managed to skate past like into the third place, like 100 meters to go or so. And then like just finished just shy of the silver.
A medal.
But a medal and a good one.
Awesome. Yeah, I know what you mean about the, have you ever sort of like had an idea how the race went in your head, and then you've watched the video and been like, whoa, because it's like, I'd have been time like where, I mean, it was the fours so certainly differently where we'd moved through a crew and I was like, they're done, like we're done.
Yeah,
smashed it, we've killed them, like it's over. But then you look the footage back and you're like, we never got more than half a length ahead. And it doesn't look like it's done.
But you know they're not going to come at you.
Feel it, it's just something about it. It's strange, isn't it?
I think like, especially through my earlier years of rowing, like, I was always quite comfortable being behind, like, and I could quite see, I remember times at Dorney, I could sit and I'd be like, see their stern like there, and I'd be like, I've got this, like, I'm happy, I'm in control, like, I'm behind, or I'm totally in control of this, like, at any point, I can just decide, I'm going to turn on, I'm going to go through you, then beyond you, and then you're not going to be able to live with that, and I think that's probably the one strength and probably the most what I enjoyed about the single. It is a racecraft. It has a lot more nuance to it. Like I think all the other classes, because you're in a crew, it's more binary in a way.
Yeah, you're just absolutely delivering a race plan.
Yeah.
There are certain things that like small adjustments that can be made, but you're really just like, I'm just going to deliver our race plan and it's just heads in. Yeah. Whereas in a single,
you can adapt
the tactics. Yeah, it's like so different.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching like some singles final. I think it was in Eggbillette, and he came back like, I think Kirkwood in the semi. He came back from like fifth, like through to first in like less than 250. Like
it's exciting to watch for that reason.
Yeah, the turn of speed in a single is like the relative turn of speed is massive.
Yeah,
and I think that's obviously when you're in a crew boat, you don't have that option. Like. You can maybe, if you're in a double, might communicate and say, look, we're going to have to go, like, get some sort of understanding between you. But in a crew boat, like, it isn't. In a bigger boat especially, it is just a drag race and it's executing your plan exactly at that point and everyone knows it, and you're just waiting for that Cox to give you that cue. I think like Morgan sort of said it, like she could just shout whatever she wanted at like any point and everyone would know, but it's because of the leadership of, the understanding of the race plan, the execution, getting the time, the rhythm, all that sort of stuff. Easy. The singles, like, it's totally different. Totally different game.
You can also surprise people and catch them off guard. Because even in a double, like you said, you can maybe communicate, but there's like, 3-4 stroke delay? In 4 or 5 strokes, you can make a bit of a difference in a single. You can poke a nose out in front, and the other guy's like, what's doing on there?
Yeah. Especially, like, the other thing is, like, singles decelerate fast as well. Like if they get hit by a big gust of wind, especially in a light boat and a lightweight, like big gust of wind can almost drag you to a stop sometimes in really bad situations. And like, you could keep moving through it, and all of a sudden, like you've been fighting like that, and it's like, oh shit, like I'm
totally kill the rhythm and
I'm away.
Yeah. Okay. Oh well, so happy with the medal at Europeans, still chasing.
Happy with medal at Europeans. And then this is when it started to get a bit more fun. So I was really happy with that. That was one of the few times I was like, no.
Awesome.
Really happy with that. That was a good day. Then up the mountain for the first time. Never been to Silveretta because we'd always been with the women. First time in Silveretta, and that was like...
tough.
That was a change, yeah. That was a big, big change. Like, and... obviously, that's even like, you sort of talk about these exclusive things, but even amongst the team, like not everyone always went to Silveretta, like, and you'd stay in like, there'd be Silveretta House and business hotel or something, And they were like, that was tough. Like, that was really tough. And you go down into that cellar, and all the guys from the previous year just like booted everything in there. Oh, actually, no, to be fair, that was my second year. The first year I went with Copus. First year up in the single in Silveretta. And that was tough. Like,
Up there.
up there.
What's the kind of mileage you're doing?
Same as the sea level. You're doing at least 20k. But the difference is when you get to the end, you can't just drift off the end. You have to hold up and stop and turn, or you're hitting a mountain. Like, genuinely, there was less space. I'd say from your front door there to where your pool table is. It's not a pool table. That's about the space you have to turn. So if you miss that last buoy, bearing in mind you're tired, and the buoys are like triple width. There's only a buoy every 25 meters. So, like, if you lose count and you end up you get like,
wow,
more than once someone has driven into that mountain.
So even less space than at Banyolas.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's tight.
That's tight.
It's really tight. Yeah. The other end's not so bad by the hotel, but yeah, more than once. I can't remember the story, but I think it might have been Satch that ran into the mountain one time, and then like Jurgen came up to him and was like, "Well, Satch, the mountain's been here for 50,000 years. Like, you'll be here in 5 minutes," and he bit. It's like,
It's like some good Jurgen banter.
yeah, God, yeah,
I had the same after crashing into the island, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah, he asked into the island, and
Yeah, I've also had
Been there.
Banksy made him wash his car to make up for it.
well, because I couldn't pay any of it at the time.
Wash the Aston.
Yeah,
Lewis before that.
yeah, no, it was yesterday.
Was it? He let you wash the bloody head? Jesus Christ, I wouldn't have let you go anywhere near it.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, thanks, mate.
You can wash my car now if you want to.
Oh, the rusty one. The
No,
old rusty.
no.
Are you gonna
No, that's gone. The rest
That's
that's gone. I've got the rest.
I remember following you. I think it was in Dorney or like somewhere. Like, you remember when you used to have to drive over every speed bump on a dust out.
Yeah. No. Well, because it was lower. Yeah,
So low. Like,
it was.
scraped on everything.
I remember one time I had to, because I got permission to do my 2K on the Dynamic, but they weren't going to take one to Boston. So I had someone, Lavinia, actually watched me do my 2K, and then I drove up to Boston on my own, and I knew that the place we were staying had like big speed bumps. So I actually
On the golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had some like you remember them, horrible. So I actually had to like spend the afternoon like jacking the car up and like winding the shocks up, because I was like, I'm gonna go like, get to the hotel and just stop halfway over.
Those are the things you just don't think about that when you're like a younger rower. Like, you're going to Boston to do a 2K ergo, and you've got your car jacked up on like things to like get it over the hotel like speed bump.
I mean, Tanner wasn't happy, but basically, Redgrave had just told him now he has to do it. He has to do it on a Dynamic, so he's just accepted it. So yeah. Anyway, so camp
Tough.
and that's because that's sort of like 6 weeks before Worlds, something like that.
So you get 6 weeks before the final of Worlds. So there's a 6-week block.
Yeah.
And sort of you've got Silveretta, a few days, a Viz, a couple of days, and then out to
What do you see?
really hot one,
Plovdiv.
Plovdiv. Yeah,
Again, yeah.
really cool place that. But
You got a bridge over okay?
Hmm?
There's like a bridge over okay?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one. We did that. Really tough camp, but did it. Jurgen would be like, okay, so, if it's, I think he said if it's 20k, you could do 18. And that was it. I think it's single versus his 8. Just cruising around. I was like, oh, this is great.
Very soft.
And I'm pretty sure I didn't do most of those. I still did the 20s.
Love the training.
I loved it. To be honest, sometimes it was quite scary up there. Like, you'd be doing a piece and you'd be so out of breath, and like, it's freezing cold, it's foggy, you've got no idea what's going on, and like, yeah, loved it there. Like,
Freezing cold and foggy in the middle of summer.
yeah, it's a totally different climate up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is
Just
cool.
in a big bowl with the mountains on each side, so yeah, you have like really have your own climate.
I'd love to just go one day just to see what it's like.
Yeah, best avoided.
That doesn't mean that on the water, just having watched.
So yeah, ploughing through that, did a viz, felt really good.
And this is, so you're in the single, at this point, how many, is it you and a double?
Me and a double.
Yeah. So there's the last 3 lightweights.
Sort of down to, sort of whittled its way down. Like I couldn't, again, it's sort of one of those things where someone just sort of left, someone didn't come back, someone retired. Like,
and who was in the double? Do you remember?
that was Zach and Jamie.
Yeah.
Zach Lee Green and Jamie. I was in the single, and day before, feeling really good, really up for it. Like, I was actually I was come off the back of Europeans, good camp, good 2 sets of camps. Had a bit of trouble with my wrist, but nothing too major. I was up for it. Little 8K paddle before last day, before going back and getting ready for the heats. Paddle up, do the first 4K, fine. Just go up for the second bit and just doing like a series of like pieces and starts. Starts is what I've been doing, like loads and loads of work on. Get under your bridge, do a start, do like one, first one, fine. Yeah, and like these starts were like pristine. Like I was really up for it. Take the first stroke, fine. Second stroke, fine. Third stroke, had a crack. So next thing I know, like the whole rigger on that side had just snapped and just gone off and into the water. And like I was sort of just like straight, like sort of flown back a bit. And I was sort of like sat there in the middle of the lake with one blade, the other one sort of holding on, but like the rigger was just attached to the end of it.
Yeah.
And Hamish was like, "You okay?" I was like, "I can go get some help." Like, and I'm like drifting across the lanes. And I'm just sat there like in the middle of the lake with like a rigger in the water, like holding on to one blade that's like fucking useless. The other one's like the only thing kind of holding me level and like stopping me from going over. And I'm drifting out, and at the World Champ or at any world event, like the small boats are on the inside and go bigger and faster on the outside. And I'm just drifting across into like the 4s, 8s lanes as they're like ploughing down. Somehow avoided them. And then the Ukrainian women's quad came and like sort of towed me to the side. And I got out, and then Jürgen's there. Was like, "Ooh, good start, Sam." She's like,
what did it actually break, or it just
the actual rigger just sheared, just literally just sheared. Like the what's it called, the two, no, it was an alley reverse wing.
Yeah.
But the mounting points solid. Bit across that side was fine, and then the actual thing,
weld,
not even the weld, be just beyond the weld, the whole lot had just snapped.
Bloody hell, it must have been a good start, eh?
That was the best start you've ever done. How much are you sending?
Wow.
And I was just like, fuck. But then I'm like, right, so it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm racing tomorrow morning. My rig is fucked. There's no chance of getting another one of those. Like, because no one else is rowing the same boat as I am. Fuck. A couple of the boys who were walking back, someone gave me their pool sliders. So I was just sort of walking back with like a boat and a blade in someone else's pool sliders. And everyone's sort of like, what the fuck's happened? I'm with one of the guys, one of Morris's helpers, I can't remember who it was, and they were like, Morris was on the phone and he said, "Oh, what do you want? Do you want a Felipe or an Impacker?" And I was like, Felipe. Like I've never raced a Impacker single, so Felipe, fine. By the time I'd walked back from the halfway to the thing, Morris had got me from Felipe, brand new, out the box, Felipe, already rigged to the right things. Like, and it felt like it was horrible. Like, it was absolutely horrible because it was such a different boat. Feel anything like the same. You know, I spent the first couple of races just getting like used to it and getting into it, so that didn't help the overall.
Was it right weight for you?
Champs. Oh yeah, it was right weight and everything. It was just such a different.
Yeah.
Like, my boat was very soft, very like, I like nice and flexible. Like, I'm very used to it. Like, quite a nice like armchair to row in. But that's what I liked. Yeah. And this thing was like brand new, and it was rigid. I mean, really rigid. Like, felt totally different. Felt like I was just stopping the boat every time. Like, you come forward, and you just feel like you're checking it. Just
shout out to Morris though for sorting it out.
I know,
what a legend.
So yeah, that was that.
So you used to have a fluid design back at Leander, right? You had like
that
thing. When did you swap to Felipe?
I didn't. Well, the day before the race.
Oh, it was the fluid that went.
Yeah, that's when the rigger snapped.
Right, yeah.
And then no one else had one.
Yeah.
So then we bounced it into her.
Okay, yeah, because you're explaining about the rigidness. I was thinking like you're describing a fluid design boat rather than
So and then I've got you down as like third in the B final.
Yeah.
At the Senior Worlds.
Yeah.
In the wrong boat.
In the wrong boat.
That you got in yesterday.
Well, that time of week, but yeah.
You didn't get to boost it.
Come on, that's still pretty bloody good.
That's awesome. Top 10 worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Look at this. It's all about levels. Top 10, he's not happy. In the wrong boat, mate.
Yeah. No, it was all right. Like, I was happy enough with that. That, again, I wasn't great. I wanted to be in the double. Wasn't in the double. And I made the most of the single. I loved it and enjoyed it. And there's like no pressure to it. But, yeah, that's what it was. And wasn't a bad thing. And then obviously came the last year, and Fletch, I believe, I want to say still around. No. So we've got Lucerne next. So that was 2019, 2019 Lucerne. Mm-hmm. So Fletch is sort of there and thereabouts, floating around, still coming back, doing, he's
recovered from injury,
illness, like he's fighting his own demons, but like, doing it, and obviously still
in the mix,
still a far superior athlete than I ever was or ever will be, like, and he had a real talent for moving the boat. Like he was just better. Like he was just a better athlete all round. So he was sort of in the mix, and this is sort of down to like the 3-4 of us. And then we go through the winter as a thing. I end up having a wrist surgery earlier in the year with the intersection syndrome.
Well, it's sort of like tendonitis, but it's not really. Is it the sheath of the tendon?
Yeah. It was like it used to creak. Like that's what started flaring up, but wasn't too bad. And then had the surgery. Definitely should have had that under general, like, because they.
Well, you went without.
No, they did it under local, but like it's obviously through there, and like with a tourniquet, and then like I sort of heard a bit of commotion, and I was like, well, this has definitely gone sideways. Like, and he's like, oh, just grip this and do this, and then like looked at it like a week later, and he was like, blew all the way around. So I don't know what, but yeah.
How so? He came out of it okay?
Came out of it fine, like, real, and like I think this is like, again, one of the real strengths of the system and like the regime is that is their ability and like the level of expertise. And like I think Gaz was overseeing most of my like rehab program at that time, and he was great. I was like, Gaz, look, I want to use this time. I want to get fit as anything. Like, I'm not going on camps. I'm not doing this. I can't really row.
As an S&C coach.
No, he's a physiologist.
A physiologist, okay.
And I was like, get me fit. So like out came the like the little altitude masks and the big bags, and I was doing like big time on like the bikes and the ski ergs and everything else, and cores and weights, and just really working on everything possible. Like in that time, came back, did the winter training. That was good. That's fine. Did the racing, did the seat racing, didn't make the double at that time.
Were you far off, or?
No, I think I was ill and I had a couple of injuries, so didn't make the seat racing.
Right.
But the decision was made to do, I'm fairly certain this was when Zach and Fletch did the double. And then me and Jamie ended up doing like a sort of shadow. Jamie did like the Europeans, and he came back, and then we did like a B double. And then Fletch got really, really ill at that time, and that was kind of him done. So then me and Jamie ended up doing the double, and then we did the double at the next World Cup, did quite well, and then we were that was it. We had to go to Silveretta with Zach in the single, and me and Jamie in the double, and we went there day one, did some ergos, did a couple of bits, that's fine. Just kind of assumed that it was me and Jamie in the double, and then me and Zach in the single, and that was going to be what it was going to be. And then Jürgen asked for a meeting with the three of us.
This is at Four Worlds, not at Worlds.
This is at Silveretta.
Oh yeah.
This is on the following year.
Yeah. 2019's
2019's
year 4.
Yeah. Probably a little more that year. So he calls a meeting, and he's like, he calls us in, and do you remember the boardroom in the side of the? You sort of walked in. You had the kitchen. You had like the way you ate on one side, and then the other side there was like that big long boardroom table that could seat like 30 people. And he sat down there, and it was like a scene out of The Apprentice. And there was 3 of us on one side, and like Jürgen, Hamish there, and he was like, "Okay, so tell me why you should be in the double."
Okay.
And that was a pretty like shit. That was like a hard thing. So like Jamie went first, and Jamie was legitimately like, "Well, I've done this. I should be in the double." Like, can't really argue with it. Fine. Zach sort of like, "Well, I've done this. I was in the top double. I'm no longer. Like, that's you know." And then I'm sort of there going, "Well, like, I can't tell you, Jürgen. Like, I can't tell you why I should be in this boat. I'm not going to give you a reason these two here on paper should be ahead of me. Like, I don't want to put them down or anything like that, but they are arguably on paper better. And I understand you have a decision to make, and you've got certain rules you need to follow, but that's that. But I'm telling you now, I deserve to be in that, or at least I know I will be in that boat. Like, I will, I'll prove to you, if it takes me to go away in the single and do a world champs and come back next year, whatever it takes, I will prove to you. I'll lend my full support to these two doing their double, and I'll just let you, I will do the single if that's what we need, if that's what needs to happen. And I didn't effectively give up. Like, obviously it's not my seat to give up. It's Jürgen's seat. If anything, if it's anybody's seat, it's his, and it's he lends it to whoever he wants it to go to. And yeah, I basically just sat there and just sort of said, "Look, I appreciate that I haven't got the seat racing, or I haven't got the ergo, or I haven't got the final trials performance to say this is why I should be in this boat, but I'm telling you, I should be in this boat. I know I should be in this boat, and I will be in this boat."
Ballsy move.
Yeah. And then
You should already know what attitude you're putting.
no, I don't. But that's the whole thing with Jürg. Like,
Yeah, respect the honesty.
he respects the honesty. He's like, he wants to be challenged. Like, I'm not going to speak for him, but if you just roll over and die, he's not going to respect you. He wants to see someone come back and have a fight. As does I don't mean just to him. Every coach wants to see someone come back and actually fight for it and want it and actually have some grit to it. And I remember, like, they left, the other two left, and Jamie's pretty upset about it, and me and Jamie was still sharing the same room for the rest of the thing. And if you know I won't say which room it is, but if you've been to the that business hotel, you know exactly the room you're in, and it was smaller than the room we're in today. Like, it is tiny, with a shower and a bedroom, like, and we were in really close quarters for like the rest of the camp. Well, because obviously him and Zach didn't want to share for whatever reason. But after that meeting, Jürgen actually came up to me, like, quietly, and just like shook my hand and was just like, "Nobody's ever, like, I didn't expect that. Like, I really didn't, and I don't know what to say." And I don't know, like, that was like, after that moment was like the best of times, because there was no pressure for Olympic qualification. I get to row in Zach's Impacker. I absolutely destroyed that boat, like, violated.
Got it nice and flexible the way you like it.
Yeah. Tuned it to my taste. Sorry, Zach. And like, honestly, like, looking back at it, it was so hard. It was so hard going from the double to the single. feeling a bit dejected maybe, but like stand by what I said in that meeting and like move, I was determined then more than ever that I was going to get that, I was going to get that was going to be my seat in that boat. And looking back at that camp, that was hilarious. Like Jürgen after that meeting, like he kind of, I wouldn't say took me under his wing, but like Jürgen's eights always used to go, or Jürgen's boat would always go at the best time, and everything would work back from that in any piece. Like, but so quite often, like the 8 would end up going first because the weather was deteriorating, and I'll be last because I was the slowest in the single. But he would always be out on the launch. I just remember this distinct session, like doing a UT1 up there at like rate 28, just literally dying, like, and he's just driving a launch at me, like he's like Zach's boat is like in between the booms of his catamaran and getting closer, and he's just leaning over the front, just like yes, so like just screaming down at me, and I'm just dying on this fucking dive.
Fucking sick, man. Because game recognizes game, right? Yeah. He saw the fire in you, and he was like, "I want to get in on that."
Yeah,
that's such a cool story,
especially from Jürgen.
That was like that at that time was the best of times. That was probably when I was at my happiest, like in all of my rowing career, because there was no pressure. I was rowing well. I was getting faster and stronger and faster and stronger. I did I did a 2K out in a Viz, and obviously it doesn't count, but it was like world record pace. It was really like everything was shifting. The last day of the last piece in a Viz was ridiculous. You do those, how it goes, like you do the course that's near the hotel, not the one around the corner.
Yeah.
And you do it from the far side where Jack had his accident, and then coming back. But it's really wide, and it gets quite shallow. It gets like a lot narrower on the bank at the sort of halfway mark, but the wind was coming crossways, so it was sort of cross, and then it was bending back on yourself. I remember going out there, and it was ridiculous. There was like waves coming over the top. The footwear was flooded. Like one of my long sleeves just like washed off, like. And like I just looked at Christian in his little launch, and I was like, "You cannot be serious." And he's like, "It's fine." Like, so get on with it. And like the first half, you're doing like 2-minute splits.
You can't even work, can you?
Yeah, you're working, but like there was just water ploughing out one end and then coming back in and just coming over. It was a state, and you just sort of like look at the, everyone's cheering you on. Like the 4, I just remember looking at the 4, and then Matt Rossiter, like at the time, I can't remember where he was sat. I just remember looking across, and he was just like, "Oh," like you
could see the face.
Didn't fancy any of that, and then. But I just felt so good. Like got to the halfway, and then all of a sudden, like as soon as the water flattened out, and like a bit of that water had like ejected itself out the boat, I was like sub-7 splits, like just flying. And you just like, yeah, those were really good times. Went to the World Champs, out the bat, felt really strong throughout all the rounds. Really good effort. Didn't quite get what I did want a medal. I really wanted a medal. I thought that was what I wanted. Came our way with 5th, I think, 4th or 5th.
5th, I've got you.
Yeah, but that was when I was like at my happiest and I'm like confident. Like I remember there's a little shot of me before the final, and I didn't care. I was just totally calm and just relaxed. I was just like literally lying back on the rigger. I just remember there's like a little Martin Cross, like a little stab that he likes to get in every now and then. He's like, "Oh, it looks very relaxed." And
I've sat next to him in the room. It's difficult.
Yeah, he loves to get those little jabs in, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the commentator he's with, as well as the people he's talking to.
Does he feel like thanks, mate? Yeah, just an all round pretty happy,
awesome,
pretty nice time. And then into like the last years, well, sort of. Obviously, then
so obviously 2020 year, yeah. So, but then you've had kind of like half a year because it all got shut down just after final qualification, final testing.
Yeah. So we went through the winter, and there's 3 of us now. There's me, Zach, and Jamie, and it's like it's friendly, amicable, still all friends.
But it's an Olympic year, and someone's
it's
not
Olympic
going.
year, and we've got to qualify the boat.
Right.
So now it's like, you know, and one of the three of us isn't going to make it. Basically, one of the three of us isn't going to go in the boat.
But you'll have to train because obviously there needs to be a backup for the Olympics.
Yeah. Well, how did the double do in 2019?
It wasn't good.
Didn't go well.
It wasn't their best.
I bet you were mad about that.
Mad, told you so. It could be anything. It was what it was at the end of the day. And ultimately, you say I was mad, but actually I was just a bit upset. Like, I would have liked to have seen them get in that race, get a try, at least have a stab at it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't ever wish anyone ill. Like, even the people you're racing against. Like, if I'm racing against someone and they catch a crab, am I going to take full advantage of it? Of course I am. But I don't wish that they catch a crab. I don't wish that they have an awful race, because it's just what's the point? Do you know what I mean? What's the point if you're going to win by some fluke or win because you know, for someone else's ill will? Like, you're going out there to beat them, and you want to beat them on their best day.
That's true.
And some days they will have their best day, and some days they won't, and some days you will, and some days you won't. Like, arguably, there'll be days leading up to that one in Linz where I probably could have won, a medal, but on the day I didn't. I just wasn't quite there. I just didn't quite have it in me, or didn't quite have it in my legs, or whatever. And that's fine. Like, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose, and it's not a good way to go through wishing that someone else. I think a lot of like younger rowers, especially for the junior years, I always wish, like, you remember looking for, like, oh yeah, I hope they don't turn up, or I hope like they don't win, or I hope, you almost wish that, or I hope they get a bad lane or something like that. And it's like, that's not how to do it. That's not running. That's luck at best. And I'd rather luck had nothing to do with it at the end of the day.
Good attitude.
Another very mature bit of advice.
Thanks. I feel very mature.
I think that's the key to life, is realizing that no one does.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how old you are.
You just need a more adultier adult, don't you?
But where's the real adult? Something's gone wrong. And where's my coach? Okay, yeah. So good winter, but then you're sort of coming into the real sharp end of it
through the winter, and then it's happening. Like, we do trials to do this, but ultimately,
I need to ask, at this point, what do you know? Like, do you know this is the last?
Oh yeah, so that happened way back in
we missed that.
So back in 2017, yeah. So Joel sort of knew about it, and Tanner pulled us into a thing. I remember we all sat around and watched as they sort of voted on a live stream of, like, to get rid of it, to get rid of the lightweight fall, which was a loss. Obviously,
no, not the four, the double.
Sorry, yeah, the previous year, and then ultimately the double we knew going into. I couldn't tell you the exact time of it, but we knew it was gone. Like, and that was that.
And what was your thoughts on that at the time?
Honestly, like, I'd almost say like a relief.
Yeah.
I know it's going to sound weird, but it was sort of like, well, there's a date to this now.
Yeah.
There's no, like, we probably come on to like the end of my rowing days, but like, at least it, like, put a date on it. Do you know what I mean? It put time, it put a line in the sand where, like, little did we know that didn't actually mean anything, and it was going to roll on for another 4 years. But actually, I was like, right, okay, that's that. That's going to be what it's going to be. I have no ability to do anything about it. I can't. That's now beyond my control. And let's do it. Like, let's do it, and let's be there. And that was that. Like, I couldn't. Again, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit there and moan that the powers that be of the Olympic Committee want to introduce skateboarding or parkour, breakdancing, or whatever? Like, it is what it is, and I've got no control over it. Like, there's some things that are just bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
So just get on. And that was that. So yeah, it was total relief. But on the back of that came, like, well, there's no more chances now. And I'd made that sort of commitment to myself. I made that commitment. I vowed I was going to prove to Jürgen. and we do the seat racing. And obviously, it's a bit different when you do a matrix in a 4 or even seat racing in a 4, because sometimes you can kind of get lost in, the sort of the variations and like when your race comes up and when it doesn't, and other factors around it and control boats. In doubles, it's 2 doubles. So I think we had James Temple, I want to say. Really nice lad.
What do I know that name?
Scotland, Edinburgh.
Okay.
He came in to give us a hand. And it was basically us 3. He obviously knew he wasn't going to be really, but again, arguably he's going to get theoretically he could be. He knew it sort of wasn't, and he was even sort of saying like how happy his mum was. He was like, "Oh, you're in the Olympic like trials, and all that sort of stuff." So it was all pretty cool. And this is sort of, I want to say February, March time. It's definitely winter. It's before when we would normally do final trials, and it is just the most brutal seat race. Like, and the way you expect the races to go didn't pan out the way we necessarily thought it was. I thought probably me and Zach would be the faster double. We did the first race and lost against like Jamie and James, and I was like, well, that's just flipped everything on its head.
Yeah. And
then it just becomes a slugfest after that. And there's only 2 more races at that point. Like, there's me and Jamie, and then there's me and James. So
you didn't do those strobe bow variations?
No, not at that point. I think they're new. So it was only 3 races. It was only 3 1500s, but like the pressure on it. And we did the first one, it planned out one way. We did the second one, I couldn't tell you. It was me and Jamie, and we won by like a big chunk. So basically we knew, as long as I knew at that time, as long as me and James like didn't get totally dropped and totally binned, like we need to sort of stay within a couple of lengths, like that double would be, I would be in that double with Jamie. Like, you kind of just know about that length and that distance. And like, me and James did not row particularly well together. Like, we didn't, not as discredit, we just never had done totally different styles. It felt totally different. I found it difficult. I was like, look, we're not doing it. We're going out 3/4 slide, and then we're going full, and then we're just hitting it as hard as we can, and we're just not going to stop. And to his credit, like, he gave it everything in that race. I think you were sort of saying about some of your seat races earlier, and like, I just remember like coming back with about 500 to go, and we're actually gaining back on them, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna do this, like, it's gonna happen. And yeah, came across the line, and we knew the results. Everyone knew the results. You didn't know the results because you hadn't been told the results. And obviously I was like, sort of said thanks to James and all that lot. And then obviously it got called up, and yeah, that was as simple as that. She said, like, all right, it's Jamie and Sam and Zach, it's up to you really what you want to do. If you want to stay in the single. And Zach was like, no, that's it, I'm done. And picked up his bag and left. It was as savage as that. And yeah, then we did final trials in singles. That was all right. Then gearing up for just after the final trials, did some more like pieces, but obviously it was only us in the double, so that was that. Yeah, and then it was sort of that weird time before COVID where things were coming, they were going, they were coming, they were going. There were, like, we knew it was coming. We thought it was lockdown. It wasn't lockdown. Sort of starting to isolate. So I think Jürgen pulled us to a side and said, "Oh, look, we're going to start cutting numbers down here. You guys are going to go train, and then train at Longridge or something. We're going to start separating out squads and making distance." And then next thing we know, I think 2 days later, it was like a national lockdown, and everyone was training on ergos in their garage.
How did you find lockdown?
You guys were making a fortune, no doubt, on servicing. And
Well, initially no, because obviously everything shut. But yeah, when stuff opened back up, although there was quite often a lot of funny conversations of someone would ring you and be like, "We really need to get our rowing machines fixed." Okay, cool. When should I come? When we can find them all.
Yeah.
Because they'd all been given out to no, because it happened so
Yeah.
quickly. No one had.
They were like at Caversham, they're literally like,
Yeah,
Morris was like, going to the gym, pick an ergo. Just text me what the number is another day. Like,
yeah. More social. One thing that's been interesting talking to people who rode through COVID. It's been interesting to see how driven people make the most of those difficult times. So, like you talked before about being injured and like really working with physiologists and stuff. How was that lockdown period for you, and like how did you try and make the most out of a bad situation?
honestly, if it's to hold my hand on my heart, all I did is just erg. I erged twice a day, or erged and run, or erged and biked, and that was it. I didn't do any more than that.
So you don't get bored?
Well, it wasn't so much the boredom part. I think especially after the first couple of weeks where it became quite apparent that the Olympics weren't going to happen, the Olympic trials certainly weren't going to happen.
Right.
I think all motivation just kind of like washed away. I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, I think I definitely could have made more of that time. I'm not sure how much more I could have made of it, but a lot of motivation definitely washed away from me.
It's super hard. It's like being in a race that you know you're going to win. Like, it's so hard to.
Yeah.
What did you do about weight during that time?
I was just sort of like, well, don't get fat, but what else are you going to do? Do you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a lot to do during, I remember some of those times during COVID, like, I was working in a garage, and like, even at that point, I was still like, I remember the last test we did before we declared the end of the season, I did like a 604 in my garage. My dad was using a leaf blower to blow the leaves, and there's like all this grass like flying through the window, like ripping this side.
Yeah, I read. It's crazy. Basically the same thing at Jamie's house, because I went over to Jamie's parents' house where he was living, fixed his ergo in there as well, and it was like the same thing, just like stuck in between the lawnmower and the...
I was, but like everyone had their own motivation. I think everyone trained at their own pace. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think everyone dealt with the thing, and like, obviously, a couple of people who were like two 20-year-old people living together, are they really worried about catching it at that time? Probably not as much as someone who was living with someone who might have been living with someone potentially vulnerable. So everyone dealt with it at their own pace, and it was what it was. But that did lead on to the following season, when obviously it was slightly COVID, slightly not.
Good way of putting it.
Well, it was weird, and we went on training camps, but not. And I remember we went to a Viz, and then we had to come back, and then it was isolating from Portugal. We just had to spend 2 weeks at home. Like, went 2 weeks training camp and 2 weeks at home. Like, but it was just a weird time, like a weird time, and you just have to make the most of it. I think Jamie and I sort of at that time sort of said, right, like, we've had our difficulties. Jamie obviously had his own kind of feelings towards the system, the whole culture, and the whole way, just the way the processes and the day-to-day life at Caversham. I felt probably different about it. Like, I thrived in that environment. Like, you just throw him back in there, I'd love that. But he was very different about that. So we kind of took the decision we were going to train sort of a little bit adjacent, a little bit satellite. We'll still work with this squad. We'll still do our thing. We'll still do other pieces, but we're gonna own it. We're gonna do a lot more bikes. We're gonna go train on the river a bit more. We're gonna do a lot more long mileage. We're gonna focus on like the things we think we need to do our best come the Olympic regatta, which was
qualification
regatta, which is a savage event.
Oh yeah.
There is no joy. There's only sadness at that place. Like, even if you qualify for the Olympics, you're not that happy. Like,
is it just pressure coming off? It's not like you.
Well, there's no one really cares. Like, so when you go to Lucerne, like, it's actually the boathouse is like sort of a school. It's a bit weird. Like, unless you've seen it, like, you don't understand, and you wouldn't quite. It makes more sense. But you go there the week before the World Cup, like the few days before the World Cup. It's all COVID. Like, you're from a different country. Everyone's looking at you a bit funny. Like, it's It's not and then you go race a regatta and it means everything. And like, there's no B final, there's no repertoire. It's just, that's it. You're done. Like,
Did you know where you had to come?
yeah, it was like top 2 or something. Like,
Out of how many people?
Lots. It was like good 3 or 4 rounds of racing.
Wow.
It was, yeah.
And at this point, no one knows how fast anyone is.
Not
Anyway,
really,
yeah.
because it's been COVID.
Yeah.
No one's really raced. We had done a race. We had done a World Cup before that in Varese, which was another story. That's when my back finally just went. Can you guess which ones?
L4, L5, or L5S1?
L5S1.
Always.
Never had a back problem. Never really had a stiff back. Little twinges, nothing of any seriousness.
It gets everyone eventually.
In the semi-final, going down the course, just felt like a sort of jab, and then I just couldn't lean back as far.
Yeah.
And I was like, something's wrong here. Like, carried on racing, going, got to the end, and I was like, something just don't feel right. I didn't feel pain or anything. And I didn't realise until I was like, hey, everyone's being a bit funny around me, and they're like, go to the tent now, like, because everyone had, that was weird again, COVID, like everyone had these massive great tents, like, and like I didn't feel any pain as such or anything until Steve, I think he was the physio, did the little test, you know, when you like put your legs on it,
Mm-hmm.
and like one leg just went straight up and over, not a problem. The other leg, like maybe like that much off the bench, there was nothing. And they were all being like very coy about it. And I was still in my head. I was like, oh, I've got fucking rapid charge to do. I've got racing to do tomorrow. Like, you know, sort it out. Do you know what I mean? And then like Liz came over and she was like, Sam, you're not racing. Like, you're done. And like, I'd never not finished a regatta. Like, never had a back problem. Like, never really understood the scale of it.
Wow.
And they were just like, yeah, you're not racing.
Did you get injection?
I did get an injection. Went to that fun room in Harley Street.
The Harley Street one's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, but that bloke, I wish I could remember the doctor's name. This doctor, right, he's, you go in there and like, he sort of says, hi, my name's, do all that stuff. And he sort of says a load of words at you and he says, oh, right, sign this piece of paper, right? So he signs this piece of paper and then he gives you a pen. And the pen weighs about as much as a barbell. It is the heaviest pen you've ever seen in your life. And he's got a whole pot of them, all exactly the same. And they're all like these Mont Blanc pens. So when I looked at them afterwards, and they're like 300 quid a pen. Like, when I looked it up online afterwards, it was unbelievable. And it's just like, he sits there, have your injection, and I thought they went in from like back down. That's what I thought. And then like, he sort of like pulls down your trousers. You get Mark to cut this again. Like, he pulls down your trousers, like, so your trousers like hanging over the bottom of your ass, and then like it feels like it's going like right up, like one way street the other way, and it is like, and because it doesn't go down. You have like all your spine, all your vertebrae. It doesn't go down like that. He comes along it, and then like injects going backwards.
All right.
So I saw the needle afterwards, and it was like monstrous, great thing.
It's good. Can you feel like when he puts the ball of
feel like a ball of pressure? Yeah. It's like weird.
It's horrible. Did you have X-ray guided or not?
No,
I've done both, but just as horrible as yours.
Yeah, we're hard, mate.
One of my first ones. No, one of the first ones I had, the doctor was like, "Oh, do you want gas?" And I was like, "I don't know. Do I need gas?" He was like, "Well, we had a girl in had an injection yesterday. She doesn't need gas." And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine."
Well, I'll be fine, mate. This is like one of those Jurgen things.
I had to get I'd gone up with my brother. I had to get him, even though he wasn't insured on my car. I had to get him to drive my car home. And obviously, it was like a stupid low and my one got. So when I wasn't helping, that didn't help the situation. But it was weird. Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it doesn't hurt. It's an odd one. Back one's a really odd one because it can crack and pop, but sometimes it doesn't hurt. Sometimes you can't move.
Yeah. And then Jamie, to his credit, full blaze, like committed to single, doing everything, working everything. Meantime, we've got a good gap, but not a massive one, to get injected and then get this sort of to a state where I can race. And to be fair, we did make it to the start line of the Olympic qualification regatta, and
it's the back one of the World Cup, not at the qualification regatta.
No, went at the World Cup, and then that was like the last stab.
Okay.
So we had to miss the next World Cup and then straight to the Olympic qualification.
You're right.
So that was like a shit ton of physio, like it's pulling out all the stops. I remember like Steve, the physio at the time, was like he was like ex-rugby player, and he was like such a great like sort of motivator, and even things like we would be doing he'd always like he'd do like stand in the press up position, he'd be like throwing a ball like across, like, and the idea was that you had to like get the ball between the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think just to like get mobility and like work on all these different strengths and weaknesses. And to be fair, I did make it to the line. I was taped up like, anything you've ever seen before. But I did it, and we didn't make it.
How did you feel about the performance?
It was, all things considered, I think we got there. We did the first race, and we weren't giving up the fight. We got through whatever the first. I think it was straight rounds. I don't think there was a repechage. Might be wrong on that. But yeah, it was straight through, and we did the first round, and we're like, shit, we're going to be this is going to be an uphill battle. Then later that day, we did another one, and we just squeaked through. I mean, like just like eyeball. We beat, I think it's the Americans, like the tightest margins, and the same sort of thing. Way back off the start, came back through, got just about there, and got over the line. And then in the semi-finals, I can't remember where it came, but it wasn't enough to do the final, and that was that. Chapter closed.
Thoughts on, at this point, did you know that then that they were going to go for 4 more years in the double?
I can't remember if that was like already established at that point. I think it might have been.
It was, yeah. So just to give context, yeah. So they were going to finish it in 2020.
It was going to finish in 2020 in Tokyo, but because of the Olympic year and the short kind of Olympiad, they decided. I think was it across the board? No, I think they increased the numbers in Paris to bring in the new events, but they weren't getting rid of any.
Yeah.
Any additional events for Paris.
So like sort of after that regatta, then were you like? Did you already know that was going to be the last race that year? Did you have thoughts about continuing?
I knew that was me done for the year. I knew I wasn't going to do anything else. Like it'd been too long, too injured. Just needed like for the first time in my whole career, I thought I needed like a bit of a space. And then like came a bit of like time to reflect really and sort of decide, right, what am I going to do now? Like, am I going to do this? Am I going to go to? So it sort of had a few months off, and did a few bits and pieces. Nothing much, nothing major. My back kept on like tried to do a bit of handy stuff, but my back was just not. It just wasn't ready to take that level of abuse. It would have been. I'm sure it would have been fine to rehab, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you the day I decided or when, but I knew I was going to be like, right, I think that's me done. Like I'm going to call time on that, and sort of call time on that chapter of my life. And I think there's quite a lot to be said for that. I think a lot of athletes sort of outstay their welcome. Like, I didn't want to be that guy that sort of fell into like slow decline and like just year on year coming work. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some great honor. Like Pete Reed, for instance, was incredible. As I was sort of coming through the team, he was like watching him sort of go from like the best in the world and that like probably the best guy in GB, certainly, and then watching him like manage his sort of slow decline's not a nice, like not the apt way, but his realization that he's no longer this incredible, like he no longer can keep going back to the well for more.
No one can do it forever. Yeah.
And sort of his realization, but the way he managed it and the way he conducted himself was just like second to none. I think Collins has said that before on the podcast. Like the way he managed himself during that time was like truly true. Like if you ever wanted the measure of the man, like that was him there and then. And that was incredible. And I think the reason I gave myself at the time was like, right, well, me and Jamie have given it everything. We've come up short. Is there anything else we can do now that's going to yield a better result? And the answer I came back with is I don't think so. I don't see a better way of doing this. And it'll be better for me to step back now and give Jamie his run and, you know, see if he can do it better with someone else. And I hope they can. And that was sort of that. I kind of made my decision. I said, you know, when I met Brendan, at the time he was the performance director, and just sort of said, look, I think I'm done. I don't, you know, I don't not want to carry on, but I don't see how I can carry on and give you any more or yield you a better result as things stand without something fundamentally, you know, because there's no more lightweights at this point. There's no more, not really. There's no, like, if there is, you know, there's no discredit to them as athletes. They are all, you know, James and especially a lot of the people up in Edinburgh that are still coming through. They are all very, very good athletes, but there's no more like
Pinnacle for them, yeah.
Well, there's very little for them, and there's just no more like chain. Like right now, as we sit here, there are future heavyweight men like running at various schools, or you know, women coming up through club. All these different people. There's still like a chain. Someone's picked up someone over Christmas will have gotten a boat for the first time, and that's, you know, that's great. But there was none of that in the lightweight because everyone knew it was gone and it was being terminated in 2020. Okay, it's been bounced on an extra 4 years, but there's still no more.
Yeah, it's done.
There's no one left. Like, if you look at the turnover in the actual doubles, the actual personnel in the doubles between Rio and Paris is very, very minimal, especially compared to all the other sort of years leading into it, like Olympiad to Olympiad. Like, the fields looked quite different. They certainly had a lot of different people, whereas, you know, Tokyo to Paris was almost like a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Just one to the other.
Yeah, Imogen said the same thing.
Yeah.
No, again, I agree with you. I have so much respect for people knowing when to quit, because it's so hard to do that, you know, to sort of feel like sometimes you're walking away from your dream or something like that. But it's great, again, to hear you having like quite a frank discussion with yourself and being like, this is what I can produce, this is what's left, this is what I'm going to go, you know. So like now it's time for me to move on and do something else. Again, it's a very difficult thing to do, but
Yeah.
And a very mature way of solving that problem as well. It's like, what else can I do to be better?
So if anyone knew me normally, like, they wouldn't say like mature, wouldn't be like they're like
I've got to you the misery.
yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but you know, we get to talk to a lot of athletes about it, and there's a lot of people that take a lot more time to do that, or get to that point to reflect, and like you said, you know, no one wants to be the guy that's just like trying to just hang on by the fingertips, you know, but it's hard to know when to walk away. So I've always had like a lot of respect for those people, when to stay, when to walk away, any of those things. So
yeah,
no, I think that's awesome.
And when to back yourself as well, like when to say, actually, you know what, I'm not done. I'm coming again.
Well, around like, you know, it is a career from being someone who was like, well, I don't know, you know, like you said, even almost being in the senior team before you wanted to start taking it seriously, you know.
No.
That's it. But you've done some incredible things. Like, I know you said you're not happy with them, but like, you know, consistently making top 10 AB finals for that length of time in an event which is so hotly contested. Like, I was so lucky as a heavyweight rower. You know, when I was at Leander, there was a squad of 30 guys there, and that I had to be a part of. And at Caversham, again, you know, there's 14 Olympic spaces. We're probably still holding like 25 guys, and you're like one of three. Yeah. Like, for multiple years. I think you should be like super happy with what you've done.
It's tough. Yeah. And ultimately, I feel like from listening to you, like, your story is one of like just pure love for the sport. And then you've just found yourself at pretty much the top of it.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, I think a lot of people could come back away and look at this and be like, oh, this guy doesn't care about it. Like, don't get me wrong, it is an incredible sport. It's so unique in so many different ways. It is sort of it is unbelievably boring to watch. Like, it is so boring. You know, unless you're watching like an Olympic final, the rest of the time it's pretty dull. But the complexities that go into it are like, and it's got so many unique works, and like everything from like the teamwork factor, and so much as no other teams work the way that our own team works. Like, you're all effectively the same part in the same machine. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like in a rugby team, you've got all these different players that play these different roles, and
Yeah.
you know, athletics is a lot more individual. Cycling, like it's
an individual team sport.
It's an individual team sport. That's exactly what it is. It's very, you know, and even down to like the lightweight stuff and how quirky that is, and just the way we race. The fact we all race over the same distance, that's weird.
The fact that we race over 2K, that's weird.
Yeah.
Just because Henley happened to be that distance in 1912 or whatever it was.
Yeah, literally.
And then they just decided to chop off 100 odd meters, right? Like it, but that's what it is, and it's a really unique sport. And I think it wouldn't make, without it, I wouldn't be who I am today. I think the path I've been along, obviously it's my journey and it's what I've had to go through, but I wouldn't be the person I would be today in work or in life after rowing. I wouldn't be as motivated. I can say I wouldn't be, but it's led me and it's made me who I am today. I think every rower could probably say that, for good or for bad. Like, it certainly lends itself to a certain, you know, career or a certain life trajectory, which you just couldn't get otherwise. You know, I can't see any other sport that could offer you that side of it.
I agree. Definitely.
Yeah. I think a huge one, and maybe other sports as well, but it's like huge, like massively delayed gratification. You learn from rowing how much you can suffer and put in order to, at a much later date, get the benefit, and then putting that into life, you know, being able to just work hard, long hours, late nights, those kind of things. Like, I've done this, I've done rowing, I know this struggle, but the end goal is gonna
even in like the learning how to row. Like, you have so many people who learn how to row. If you're looking right there, you're retired.
No, that's right.
You have all these like people learning how to row, and like these coaches shouting and banging their head against your wall, and like what a lot of coaches don't realize is these, like, you can only like learn these, you can only achieve these lessons once you've experienced it yourself. They can say whatever they want, they could frame it in every which way, they can try and come at it from every angle, but it's something that has to be learned and it can't be taught.
It's frustrating as a coach when you realize that, and you're just like, he's not going to get it right. I'm going to have to just send him out, and he's going to have to blow, and then he'll know. Yeah, and then he'll know what I'm trying to tell him about pacing. Yeah.
But you got
to learn it.
But that just ability to actually understand and learn from your mistakes, and actually like, oh yeah, that guy was actually right. Like you know, like, oh, I'll get it now. Like, maybe I shouldn't go out so hard on my 2K and blow, like, or whatever it is. Like, just the whole process of going through it throughout the years. And again, this is just totally my journey. Like, everyone's got different ones, has different experiences, but I think it's certainly the ability it teaches you, the tools it gives you to learn are just second to none. And you could go back and gain knowledge in any field and you would succeed in it, because it gives you the mechanisms, you know, everything from the suffering, from the ability to learn, from the pain, the heartache, the fact it means everything and absolutely nothing at the same time. Like, all of these things, like they all play into it as a whole, and they make you a better person for it. Yeah. I don't think many people are better off having not rowed, if that makes sense.
And that's what makes us such an interesting, like, bunch of people, and that's why we tend to stick together. And like, the friends you make, like, during rowing years, you tend to sort of stay around in that world for a long time after you finish.
I don't have any contact with anyone I went to school with. Like, and I went to a pretty small school, but like, I can remember people I rowed with around the same time. Yeah. I can't remember the people I went to school with around the same time.
Yeah.
Which I think probably says it all.
So there's two things. I can't have you on the podcast and not bring this up. So back when I was a junior, like, obviously you were the guy who was winning the pieces.
Yeah.
Always smashing everyone on percentages. Like that quad that you were in with JJ, Ed Fisher and Steve Parsonage, obviously was given a big, good run for the Queen Mother at Henley. One thing that always stood out when we were doing technical analysis, coaches would show us video of you sculling.
Oh, I'd be like, this is how you don't do it.
No, like completely the opposite. Like, just look at how you do it. And like, you've taken, over a couple of sessions when we needed to a coach to fill in, etc. And like just for some of our training. And I just remember like you have a very, very incredible understanding of the rowing technique and how to do it in, well, you've maybe.
I love how Tom looks at me like,
Okay, no, fair enough.
I agree. I'm the guy that never managed to make a single go past.
Yeah, so it was just very light and gracious, and you just really understood how to be one with the boat, and the way that you'd sometimes explain some technicalities of just the rowing stroke just really kind of stuck with me to this day. So is there any way that you'd be happy to just break down how you think about like the rowing stroke and
how do I think about
how to make a move, how to move a boat to go fast?
I don't think there's an inherent sequence of like, do this at this point and this will do that. Like the rowing stroke is the rowing stroke, and it is very simple. Like it is like the notion of it is very simple. We make it incredibly complicated, and I guess that's kind of the definition of progress, isn't it? Like the complication of a simple task, like, adding all these extra processes to it. The fundamental thing is you need to go forward. You need to be fully compressed, but not obviously over yourself. Blade goes in at the furthest point, which I never could do. All the way through, take it out, clean square, away you go. But I think what you're probably referring to is, I think I always had quite a good understanding. I could almost like implant myself in that boat. I could see it. I could still do it now. Like, when you're sat in traffic going out and you could see someone like rowing away, like, I can understand what they're feeling, if that makes sense.
Right.
Or I can look across, or I could look across and see like someone in a boat and know, like, I know what that feeling is. Maybe it's because I've done it for so long, or maybe because I just rowed badly for ages. I don't know. But I had quite a good understanding of like how it looks, how I believe it feels, and how I think it should feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like 9 times out of 10 as a junior, like if you're rowing time, you're going to win. Like it's pretty simple, but
Sure.
It's just a case of understanding of your part in the stroke and what you're actually working with. Like a lot of people seem to think they're just working with a stick. You're not working with a stick. You're working with a whole massive, great boat, like over 100 kilos if it's an 8 sometimes, maybe 1,000 kilos when it's, when it's fully loaded. And you've got to understand like that is part of it. Like it's part of you, in the same way a skier would be attached to their skis and use every inch of it, or even an F1 driver would be connected to like their wheel, have an understanding of the machine around them and how they're moving it, how they're manipulating it. I think that's probably an area which isn't looked at so much. So many people look at like that little frame of like what the scull, when you take the video of the boat, you're not looking at the stern, you're not looking at the bow, you're just looking at the bloke in the middle, the woman in the middle, going up and down a little slide. And actually that's not it. It's the whole hull, and having an understanding of like what you're doing and the impact that is having on the boat as a whole.
Yeah.
I would probably say is where I looked.
That makes a lot of sense. So how do you then use that to generate the rhythm and translate that rowing stroke into something that's very smooth and flowing? I'm sorry if I'm dropping.
No. It's all about, for me, it was all about catching that stern. Like, I know a lot of people sort of like say like, "Oh, don't check the stern," like, but everyone does, like, to some degree. But actually, or maybe put it a different way. Maybe I knew the rhythm I was looking for. Like those times I spoke about when I knew I was going for it good before my rigger snapped, or before like, a world champs where I overcooked it. Like, you could feel the boat coming back towards you. You could feel like, a lot of people say it like, "Oh, feel the boat coming back towards," but there is a certain feeling when you're at the right point and you're on top of it. You're not in the boat, you're not going along. You got to feel like your actions are actually physically pulling that foot plate, and in so doing, it is moving that whole boat. Your body is staying where it is, and you've got that feeling of like coming up underneath and bringing the boat up to where you want it. And you're not putting yourself in a position where you're coming forward and you're coming to the catch. You're bringing that boat up to you, and you're sitting up on top of it. If that sort of makes sense, like and that's how it kind of plays into the rhythm of the stroke. It's like being at one with the boat. How else could you put it? Like,
That makes a lot of sense, to be honest. That makes a lot of sense.
it's almost as if like you're trying to go downhill on a bike or something, and like you're trying to like lean and then turn your handlebars at the same time. Like, you got to be one with it. You have to go with the machine that's underneath you and actually have an understanding of you are in control of this, and it is you moving it, and you're not just coming to the catch and slamming into it, and that's going to generate the boat. You're going to have a bit of feeling and understand what the hull is doing underneath you to get you to where you want to be.
And that's exactly why I wanted to ask that question, just to like hear it put out in that sort of form. I think it's put together like very well, and this especially is a good recipe. I'm trying to visualize like what you're saying as you're explaining it, and like it's a very good recipe for sculling. And also what you've said a couple of times during this episode, visualization is really key, I guess, in order to like improve your technique and like feeling between the bow and like the mind muscle connection, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I wanted to finish the podcast on a positive note, because obviously the final Olympic qualification, that could be a bit upsetting because I was towards the end. But no, that it's just seeing you like ooze talking about rowing, like that's a good point. I feel like,
but like it's not a sad ending. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one's died, nobody's dead. Like, it's just that chapter of your life is done.
Yeah.
And it changes. Like, you could be getting on your wedding day, and you could be the happiest day of your life. But that everything that happened before that is changed. Like, or same when you have a kid, like, your whole world is changed from that point on. Like, you're done. Like, you're done with rowing. It doesn't have to be sad. Like, you can be upset that it's done, but you can certainly be happy that it happened and be glad that it happened, and don't have to be sad about the fact that, okay, did it work out? Did I have a fairy tale ending? No, of course I didn't. But it doesn't define me. It doesn't like ruin my life, or
no.
The sun's going to come up in the morning, and the world's going to keep turning, and it's not something to be sad about. It's not something to cry about. It was a hell of a ride. It was a great journey, and that every day I go further beyond it, all I do is look back on it with fond memories.
Yeah.
I don't remember the horrendous like 2Ks, or the times I got angry, or the times I was just like, it was shite, or it was rowing, or I was arguing, or whatever. Like, I don't remember any of that. I remember the good, when I felt happy, and when I was rowing, and when Jürgen's trying to kill me on a launch, or, even in those moments where I felt like real goosebump moments, they're not sad. Like, they're hard, they're difficult, but they're not bad. They're not bad memories. In fact, they're quite the opposite, really.
I agree too.
And that's a great attitude.
Yeah. You just need to shift the paradigm and put some things into a deeper perspective, looking back on them, and you view them in a different frame. Yeah, that's another very mature way of describing this whole thing. I know you're not too...
We're going to end it on the happy note. We're going to end it on those quick fire round.
Can do, but let's do quick fire. We normally the questions are quick, and then we get like half an hour.
Let's do quick answers.
Let's do quick answers. Out of all the rowing venues that you've raced at, trained at, or visited, what are some of your favorites, and why?
Favorite. Okay, we'll do favorite training camp, South Africa.
Nice. On the bar.
Oh, you went on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Day one, go out there. Satch, I'm going to call him out on this. He's like, pops a wheelie, falls off, grazes his leg, spends the whole like with a grazed leg. That was cool. That was different. That was also that was a great camp. Favorite or best one, Egbalet. Never happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Only time I've ever peed in a bucket of straw. Eco-friendly toilets. Egbalet. That was stunning. Truly stunning. And then favourite place to row, if I could ever choose anything.
Taversham.
No.
I never minded Caversham. I really didn't. I think.
But it's not your favourite place.
Nah.
You're going to say Henley, aren't you?
No, I think I'm gonna go with Strathclyde. I think of all the places I've raced, like I've always enjoyed going to Strathclyde and racing.
First time we've had
Pretty rogue.
No, it's not. I mean, Eggbillette comes up a lot, obviously.
Eggbillette.
No,
Yeah.
but no, it's nice. If it's for you, that's good.
It's very picturesque. If you were to repeat one race or one event again when you're 60 or 70, either to relive it or to get a different outcome, what would it be?
Relive it. I don't think I'll be doing much when I'm 60.
No, you can go back.
Yeah, if I could go back to anything, anytime, anywhere. Evesham Head, J10.
Yeah?
Yeah, those were good.
Back in the day. That's awesome.
So those were fun. Like
When
when
it
we
was
used to
just
go
fun.
when it was just for fun. You go there, always sticks in my head. My mum actually lives not far from there now. You go down there. Like, oh, fuck, we used to race it. Like,
Used to do Evesham a lot. I was at Worcester. I rode at Worcester.
Yeah.
So.
Never heard of that.
Evesham Head, yeah. They have like a little chain link ferry that they have to drop. Like,
They've got the course record is like still held by like Pince and Redgrave or something, because they just happened to randomly come down there once for some race, some charity race or something. Like no one's ever gone faster. They put down some fast time.
That's cool.
there's the little chain link ferry across to like a little park. Like the boats will be coming along, and they'll have to like crank up this because the chain's like up here.
Yeah.
They crank it up and like you shoot underneath it.
That's really cool.
What's my question? If you could travel back in time to the age when you really caught the rowing bug, what advice would you give that young kid?
Again, I think if this podcast told us anything, I don't think I ever really caught it as such. But if I was to go back and say, like, if I was to give someone the advice when I started rowing, maybe reframe that slightly, just to run rough shot straight over your question.
No, that makes sense. That sounds for you.
I'd just say just live every moment of it. Like, it'll be what it'll be. You're gonna be fine. Do you know what I mean? There'll be bad days, there'll be good days, but at the same time, like, you only get to live it once. I think that's a massive, like, no one realised, like, at the time it feels like everything, but you only get to do this once. You only get to do your first world champs once. You only get to, you only get one real crack at it. You might bounce in and out of the team, but you have one shot at it and just enjoy the ride, because you're over before you know it.
Cracking advice.
That's true. Okay. Who are some of your rowing idols or people that you've looked up to either during or post your career?
Rowing during or post?
Or before.
Or before. I think Pete Reed. I think he comes up quite a bit, doesn't he? But I think the first day I met Pete, I was in the Leander changing room and he picked up some kid's bag and he yeeted it across the changing room because it was in his space. Like, I think the Hodgie told him to go pick it up and bring
Bag wars.
Like, oh, yeah.
The bag wars is real.
Yeah.
Oh, I know,
I remember seeing some bags in the shower. Like, remember those old little lockers we had? Those little cages. Oh, they were filthy.
Yeah.
It's all right. You don't need to wash a towel because you're always clean.
The towel washes me. What are you talking about? I don't wash the towel.
Some of those logic.
Yeah.
I remember. Can you remember that? Who was that guy who had that solid T-shirt at Leander? He used to wear the same T-shirt every time for a thing. Like, we came in one day, it was just like stiff as a board. Oh, that was rancid. No, Pete Reed. Not so much for what I don't mean to take away from what he did from his rowing career, but more his managed decline in a way, and the grace at which he came down and how he never, ever, ever stopped supporting the people around him or lifting them up. Often quite great sacrifice to himself and his own personal ambitions and career ambitions and just general rowing ambitions going down. Emily Craig, I'm not sure if she's come up before.
No, she hasn't.
She is without doubt the hardest woman I've ever met in my life. She throughout her whole career, like, we were, I think, the same age, went through it at the same time. But to come back from Rio and everything else she had going on in her life at that time, and then come back and get that to get that medal, that was, throughout that career, like that was truly inspirational. And those that are close to her or know her, like, will know of her, what was going on in her life, and that's her story. But there is no greater example of a female rower, or just an athlete in general, that I can think of.
Wow.
Genuinely. Give a third one. Collins. I do, like, I think a lot of the time people used to think John and I didn't like each other.
Oh, yeah.
But I have a lot of respect for it. I think we're quite similar in a lot of ways, and probably a lot different in a lot of others. But out of everyone, like, I always held a lot of respect for him at the time. Being rowing next to him. If he did keep me in check. Like, if I was doing something stupid, he would call me out on it, and I actually had a lot of respect for him for that. Still wish I beat him on that 5 rugby. But no, I think those three, those would be my in and around. Those would be the most inspirational people around me at that time.
Awesome.
It's a good answer. It's different from the templated, Redgrave Vincent response of, like, that's who was the best at the time.
But they were great. But it's not, it's not what they look up to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess, some people aspire to have a 20 mansion house on Lake Como with a reaver and everything. Some people want a little cottage, on the prairie. Like, it's, everyone wants a different thing. Like, Tom sat here daydreaming about his new VW,
New?
camp.
What are you talking about, new?
The old new, the next new old one.
The company vehicle, and,
Yeah, just trying to work out how I can swing that for
We're just kidding, HMRC.
No, awesome answers. And again, like, it's, I thought when we first asked that question that we would be getting, the top people that I'd followed and stuff, but we would just so often get the people that you were there with and that you took inspiration from. So awesome.
Just in general, this has been such an awesome chat, Sam. Just to hear, like, obviously your story, but from an angle that I didn't personally know, because I only saw the bit of your journey that you've had at Leander and didn't really follow much after, like, what happened once you went into Caversham. We just knew, okay, he's off to the team. And then to actually hear what's happened and everything, it's been quite inspirational as well. You've had a lot of, like, really good advice. I think that's going to help a lot of young rowers as well, people who are currently doing it. And just, I know you don't like to take that label, but the maturity of, like, your responses, I think, just really, like, shine throughout this.
Yeah, even if you don't want to call it mature, I think you've managed to, what you were saying about your understanding, you've managed to articulate it in a different way than maybe we've heard before. And I think, like, there's certainly all good information is sort of only good if it's kind of presented in a way that you can understand. So, like, having these conversations with people hopefully means that you can listen, and maybe someone else has said it in a certain way, but it's always great to see someone else kind of bring their perspective on it. And I think you've definitely brought sort of a different perspective, and I'm sure there are people out there that are going to take things from that, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. And more importantly, thank you for giving this service to all the young rowers out there who get to, or giving their platform to let different people express their stories. And, if it gets one person, one thing they need to make them, if not maybe not faster, but make themselves feel a bit more confident and comfortable in what they're doing, like, it's a win, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. So.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to title this episode Chasing Discomfort. That's something that, like, stuck throughout when you described it earlier. But as for today, this concludes everything for this episode. So on that note, easy there.
Cue the music.